End of April 2024 with the Lovelocks of Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trails. They will be rough cut. Right, standard introduction for those few haven't seen any of these videos. This is where we live at 22 Armitage Court, with warning signs about fierce guard cats. You might get a glimpse of one or two later. Armed mice. This is the spot where GPS was tested from the late 1980s with a bit of garden sculpture that June got for Robin over 2 years ago now, wasn't it? And the oak tree that sprung up for an acorn. Accommodation for an owl, but no owls were taken up on, only cats, known as guard cats. Down there, front drive. Yes, promotion of the website, gpss.co.uk. Sorry about the planes going overhead. Just was a business decades ago, now just hobbies and charities. And this is June's car, and I use it to test things like the Satcom's tracker when that's going into the robot boat, and there'll be more on the boat in a moment. This is from a year or two back, accommodation I built for our guard cats, and with armed mice as well, and warning signs, including about the mouse or mice. There's the bicycle, which I haven't had a chance to check out yet. Thanks to a neighbour for getting that working. Getting close to the front door, and yes, this is the camper that took Snoopy's robot boat, and you'll see him in a moment, down to the coast. Battle damage. June said Robin did it, Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. Now, the standard thing before I go into the house is from the point of view of warning signs about health and safety. So for years it said things like closed circuit TV, hidden cameras inside and out the house. That's a U sign. All these things are jokes, of course. I'll read it out though for those of you who are using automatic translation with subtitles. That says, no trespassing, violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. This is our flatulent fairy, which was a Christmas project, and I won't demonstrate that, but it has things tucked away nearby. That's quite recent, peanuts, because we found that the cats were catching. There's no peanuts there now, they've all been eaten last night, but birds occasionally come there, and so the cats were catching them. So now this is the important sign. Well, first of all, my study is behind there, and it says, do not disturb. I am disturbed enough already, but the important sign is this: home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock, beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paints, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agents. Robin would not be mad enough to test these, or would he? All a joke, of course. Right, I think we can go into the house now, safely. And so this is being shot on the last day of April. A glance at the kitchen, and yes, television has tennis on. Oh, June's got an important telecom going.
It started with a cold. Yes, it started with a cold.
Yes, that's chatting to the local doctor, hopefully, about a cough. Now, yes, a glimpse of one or two rooms. This is the lounge, and that hasn't changed much. The naughty corner with the closed circuit TV figures in most of the photo trails, and I've got it on the front page of my website that's been there for years. There's the visiting cards people may have been unfortunate to get, and one of the pages is the robot boat page. And for a change, in the last few weeks I've had a chance to put a few hours working on the robot boat. That hasn't happened for years. So this is our games room, Yes, hobbies and things like the filming from the air of the red kites in the children's. Lots of things.
GPS tax well 44, 25 seconds, target alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349 degrees, GPS course 92, speed 0.0 knots, left 103.
So this is the autopilot, and I've left the software running. I'm about to switch it off and restart it. The current thing is the Mobius video camera is used for testing.
44, 50 seconds, target alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349 degrees, GPS course 297, speed 0.0 knots, right 52.
And the text-to-speech, so these two items of equipment are added just for testing, typically on Bray Lake. I've got to make a suitable platform so that that is done a little better than it has done in the past. And the software is running at the moment.
15 seconds, target alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349 degrees, GPS
And
course
the
297,
destination by
speed
default
0.0
is
knots, right
Target
157.
Alpha on Bray Lake. And the Sumi page is quite clear where that is, north of us. But anyhow, so this boat is getting close to be ready for an attempt after thorough testing.
GPS tagged well 45, 40 seconds, target alpha, 11 kilometers.
Now what I'm going to do is switch off
GPS course 141.
and show you the startup process by which it actually says.
Snoopy's Pickaxe 28X2 GPS audio autopilot. Software version Romeo, last update 6th of December 2017.
So, no changes since 6th of December 2007. Then it goes on into its usual thing of steering, and because it's static, it'll be fairly random corrections. So that's enough of that. Lots of other junk, and of course one of the reasons I put these photo trail videos together is we might get help. Originally it was in the garden where it was needed, but I haven't had any help recently on that, so it's in the house, gradually putting things in the right places. And I haven't had the lid off this, but that's a snooker table under there, and oh yes, I better put some of that away. That was the last little bit of work I was doing on the robot boat. I'll get into trouble. Right, so that's what we're looking for, which is help. And what the main requirement is lots of common sense. I use these opportunities to get a snapshot, if you call it that, of the garden. And I can honestly say the garden is probably better now than it's ever been. I'm talking about decades like 1980 when we moved back here permanently. So it's still lots of tidied up, putting all these bits and pieces, yes, 3 wise robins, into sensible places, but for the moment those shelvings have made it possible to put them somewhere. That's the new barbecue, it's under there. The other one was falling to bits, that appears in the photo trail in terms of where we got rid of it. And this is the pond, and that of course has changed a lot for the better, repairing leaks, and of course everything growing like mad. There's the telescope, and there hiding under there is a fierce guard cat. Oh, has he gone? There he is under there somewhere. He'll probably follow me. That's the telescope I did the optics for while still at school. Long time ago that. Late 50s, early 60s. And there's the stream. So when all the rain comes off the roof into the top pond, overflows down, and the most recently completed, if you call it that, project is the sundial. I'm not sure how many years ago I put that in. Again, would be decades, and I've basically been calibrating. So right now the time is, what's it, 10 to 2 BST, which is 10 to 1 GMT, and there is, on an ordinary sundial, coming up to 1 o'clock, which is about right, and the direction of the shadow from the globe is about there. So again, coming up to 1 o'clock GMT, which is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon BST. And that was a recent thing because I couldn't get these type of letters, so I improvised with that. That was done fairly recently. So, oh yes, some old saws of sentimental value. I'm not sure if that was my dad's or June's dad's. So that's the sundial. This is the top pond, which we thought would be a duck pond, but I didn't want to trap ducks in it like some people do. If we come around the side here, yes, this has all been done. This is where it had been leaking through to next door. I think that's fixed now. And we got a water squirter here, triggered if something moves in front. He says, looks like the batteries have gone flat. That's why those sort of things got to be working before we go put in a lot more fish in. And the Heron had most of their fish in the last year or two. So, back down, yes, there is a bridge going across that, but I won't risk going along it. Back, going to go down the garden because this did get some extra work done on it. Oh yes, Gunnerer Mantecata giant rhubarb, that's coming up nicely within the last month or two. And the stream tops up the top pond, then the lower pond, so-called duck pond, and if that's full, it overflows into another stream down here, into a little reservoir for the bog garden. And to begin with, that was just used as a temporary place of putting any surviving fish, and only found one surviving fish. And there are more plants being put in here, including Gunnerer Mantecata, giant rhubarb, and a few others. And also, new bright idea of June, hawthorn, which to give encouragement for birds nesting, either in the hawthorn or behind it. And I come up the back way here. Quite a lot of junk hasn't been thrown away, but probably be given to people like her youngest daughter Michelle. Yes, a lot of you would have seen this, the compost heaps, plenty of room for that. All the flowers grown like that, including bluebells, dandelions have passed their best. Don't seem to be able to buy those in garden centres. Now, what is quite important in terms of outstanding work, yes, a load of junk to be thrown away, just a matter of getting the time to load it in the dustbins, or better still take it round to the dump. This shed was put together years ago. Yes, it's solar powered here, and it's somewhere to keep tools, but I'd much prefer tools to be out in the open. Security, as you may already know, is dealt with in many other ways rather than locking things up. And so what I've been doing, a strategy of a year or two back, is finding space in the open that's also the lawnmower. Yes, you probably notice the lawn definitely needs a mow because it's grown up so fast just in the last, well, days rather than weeks, helped by me putting down the right fertiliser. So, lawnmower. Anybody interested? Saying, yeah, look down, you'll see it. And then where to plug it in? Well, there's power, for example, in the summer house, or the laboratory, as I prefer to call it. So, we're into areas now that need a lot of tidying up and putting things in the right places. So this has become a mess. Yes, it's got some robot boat stuff, including electronics and drawers for things, but we haven't really got to the stage of some drawers are full and some have got practically nothing, and they need to be labelled properly. Yes, other things like computers, TVs, old VHS players, oscilloscopes, lots of things, old Halloween stuff. Fridge, that's probably still working with typically non-alcoholic stuff in it. So here's an example of an area which is outstanding work, and the only way of getting it done is to get some help. I have done a lot of useful work in the garden on my own over the last 6 months to a year, but I'd rather not. As everybody who knows me, I like to get somebody else to do the work, and that's been the case all my life, certainly all my working life. So yes, places to put things, including the workshop. Yeah, getting untidy. Needs a lot of tidying up to put things so they're easily found, like shelves and the tools easily visible. Yes, there is a vise and things, so that at a glance, rather than it being tucked away in boxes where I don't know what's in what, we can see it. So I think that's, oh yeah, just around the corner is a little wild spot, and you never know, staff might decide to make use of it, and that's June's greenhouse. Of course, one of the most important things is to put things in the right place so you can find them, or somebody working for you can find them. And people often tell me where to put things or stick things. That's fairly recent. Oh, there's a guard cat appeared. Hello, Toadie. Hello. Come on, let's chase you. No, he knows better. That's where a lot of materials are kept. You could say it's junk, but a lot of it is quite important, useful junk. Bags of peanuts, compost, plastic piping and things, water taps, water squirter. That's not on for some reason at the moment, and of course it'd only be loaded with water, wouldn't it? Not paint or anything. Right, so where was I about to go? Oh yes, just show the greenhouse. That's another hawthorn tree there. There's Jude's greenhouse. Not much been done on that, and needed to be done for a while. Yes, everything's coming up nicely. There we go. You see, you say, "Ah, oh, for goodness sake!" But don't forget, you can skip through material with the progress bar on YouTube, if it's YouTube. Yeah, that stuff been planted fairly recently, including that Cyanthus, and so that should be quite a nice bush. Another climbers, flowers, wisteria, I think it is. I'm not a gardener. That is from Sicily, believe it or not. Wild fennel, important flavouring for pasta con sard, pasta with sardines. So I think I've pretty well done the tour. I won't bother to go upstairs. That looks like a dragonfly coming around, and so not sure where to finish this. I suppose the obvious thing is this is where we run into these long photo trails. There is a rough voice commentary on them for each of the days. In this particular case, for the end of April 2024. Thursday the 11th of April 2024. Less than 7 minutes of photos, including this 2-minute summary at the start. Yes, checking the sundial, and the key thing is their old barbecue is absolutely falling apart. So the most important trip was to go out, getting a few odds and ends, and the most important thing, after enjoying an ice cream at Longacres, was June chose her barbecue for a delivery on the Saturday following. Yeah, the tracker shows where Robin's tracker was, if not Robin, and various places looking for things line find. That was for the robot boat work. And yeah, so back home to just here. Yes, there's Bentley, and there was an interesting encounter between Toadie and Bentley, a bit of playful fighting, if you call it that, on the closed circuit TV. That comes near the end. Toadie, of course, joined me, and I took my dinner into the naughty corner where I could do the closed circuit TV checks and see the hedgehogs and foxes sometimes sharing the peanuts on the front porch and also the back, including a glimpse of a mouse. And yeah, so obviously the full photo trail is further back. And yes, June watches Porta Rossa, or the Red Door. Time for bed, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, when the sun is out I get a chance to check things like the shadow direction on the sundial and take a few snaps because everything's growing very quickly. And yeah, so that's what needs to be replaced, ideally by something which is pretty well identical size. And so we take a trip out, but the reason we visited quite a few places, oh yes, I took the tracker with me. That was the spare spot tracker that I fixed the day before. Yeah, through a few landmarks on the way into Ascot and Ascot Hardware. No, he didn't have any wire. June filled up with petrol. Then Screwfix around the corner in South Ascot. And then Wicks in Bracknell. Oak Tree, well, I did at least get some chicken manure for the lawns. And where are we going next? Oh yes, Longacres. And yes, I enjoyed an ice cream and a few minutes chatting with the guys. And the key thing is June chose this particular barbecue, and delivery was included on the following Saturday. And yeah, back on our way home through the village, a few landmarks. Back home at 22 Armitage Court, there's Toadie greeting me, or us. And there's the tracker, the Spot T2 tracker. So I probably checked a few of the trackers, starting with that so-called spare Spot T2 tracker. And yeah, that was pretty well okay. Doesn't report quite as often. And then checking my pendant tracker, the SOS tracker, and of course that showed everywhere I went, including home base, Oak Tree Garden Centre, and the route back home to just here. So what's next? Oh yes, that is definitely falling apart. The old barbecue we've had quite a few years, probably about 10 years. Had a bit of a doze, woke up and enjoyed seeing the cats. That's Bentley, and there was an encounter which I picked off some frames off of the close-circuit TV. So Toadie rushed over to Bentley and there was a bit of playful fighting, if you call it that. Wasn't much reaction from Bentley, and quite enjoyable. Toadie came in to relax above my naughty corner. I had a bit of a doze, and time for dinner. I take it into the naughty corner where the chair is much more comfortable than the kitchen. Went through the closed circuit TV check, starting from midnight, running forward. Yes, combinations of foxes and hedgehogs. Interesting to see the interaction between them. A lot of it probably driven by the age and experience of the fox. And yes, so hedgehog certainly likes the peanuts. Yes. That's a younger fox, I think. He left the peanuts. And that is a fox on the top bridge. And there's a glimpse of a mouse. You can see his eyes there. Yes. That's a younger fox, I think. Yes, decided not to tangle with the hedgehog. So that's when the camera switched the 0504 GMT to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight, similar pattern of the same visitors, hedgehogs and foxes for the peanuts on the front porch. And through to when the cameras switched at 1905 from colour for the day, 1905 GMT that is, and June's watching Porta Rossa, the Red Door, interesting Italian drama. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 12th of April 2024, 8.5 minutes of photos including this 2-minute summary at the start. Yes, yeah, it doesn't take very long, but checking the sundial directions when the sun was out and gradually putting the numbers in the right places. And yes, we had a neighbours move in. That was an interesting process. Lovely guys. And yeah, we spent a lot of time disassembling the old barbecue that was falling apart anyhow, and we ended up taking it round to Ascot Metal Recycling, which saved us a long drive over to Maidenhead. And also went into Bray Lake, and that was fantastic, the work they'd done since I last spoke to them of clearing all the willow mostly around the edge. Popped into Mantua Models and back home. Yeah, the tracker showed where my tracker, if not Robin, has been, including Bray Lake. And yeah, and we had a surprise visit from the Vansells. That was lovely. They didn't spend very long, but yeah, that was and it only took me 5 minutes to put down the chicken manure at the front and the back, and 10 minutes to sprinkle water. So that was a job very quickly done. And that was that big black and white cat. I still don't know where it comes from. But yeah, so this is the back end of the day. So Robin's eating in the naughty corner. June is watching Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian drama. And yes, hedgehogs and foxes sometimes sharing the peanuts at the same time, at the front and at the back. And yeah, time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yeah, the sun came out, so I popped out and looked at the direction of the shadow. And yeah, 10 o'clock BST is about 9 o'clock GMT. So temporarily glued the numbers into adjusted positions. Eventually we'd get those numbers in the right place. And then there was we had neighbours moving, not very far, but that was interesting conversations. Yeah, another reference position, and yeah, they're looking at something. Don't know what it was. Yeah, so that is the old barbecue, and very useful process of working together to find out how we took it apart. Yeah, had to have a rest break in the middle, but eventually we got it all disassembled, and looks like June put the washing out in the middle as well. Yeah, another chance to check the sun direction. Looked like close to midday GMT. Looking good. Looks like a lunch break here. And so we've got all the bits there, and we managed to get them into the car, some in the boot and some in the back. And June had the bright idea of going to Ascot Metal Recycling in just round the corner on the edge of Ascot, rather than all the way into Maidenhead where we would normally take junk. So there we are, going into the place, and the guy there said, yeah, no problem, put it down there. And so we did that, and then we thought, we'll take a run over to Bray Lake, past a few interesting places on the way. Bray Lake Water Sports, where Snoopy's robot boat has been tested for years, and they'd done good work of cutting back the willow, which is would have been a real problem in visibility if nothing else when we were testing the boat. And so the whole place is better than I think it has been ever. Across the water is Thames Hospice. So yeah, the whole place is lovely. So we're not sure when the boat will be ready, but that'll be the first thing we do, test it there. So I just took a few more pictures, and that was Bray Marina, just round the corner. But then on our way back home, oh yeah, popped into Mantua Models for a few minutes chat there, and back into Ascot. Yes, past the police station, past the racecourse stadium, past McLaren's and the Swinley pub. Back home and look at what's on the tracker. Yes, shows the journey that we made, including to Ascot Metal Recycling, and I popped into the White Puss office to ask after basically the Squirrel pub, and I think it was Debbie, and yeah, the other places visited, and back home just here. Yeah, that was the Google map image of Bray Lake Water Sports. Had a bit of a doze. It'd been a hard day. Yes. Woke up. I don't know, it wasn't a very long doze. And the Banzels had popped in on us. And so, yeah, showed them briefly the garden, had a chat with them for a few minutes, and then they left. And I thought, time to put down that chicken manure that I'd bought recently. And it surprised me how quickly it was. I checked on the closed circuit TV, which these images are from, and it only took me 5 minutes to put it down on the front and the back lawns, and 10 minutes to sprinkle water. That includes getting things out. And there's that big black and white cat. We don't know where it comes from, but it's the only cat or anything that I've seen chase Bentley. That was on a video introduction some months ago now. Yeah, just looking at the water level. Yeah, evaporation and seepage into the vegetation means it's dropped an inch or two, but no more than that. And put out some bird feed and peanuts on the two large bird feeders that I'd hoped a red kite might take an interest in at some time. Back end of the day, eating in the naughty corner. June comes in and watches Porta Rossa, the Red Door, the Italian drama series, and yes, foxes and hedgehogs on the front porch, and interesting interaction between them. So the more experienced foxes tend to be fairly relaxed about hedgehogs. They just don't do anything silly like 0456 GMT is where the camera's switched to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight, and there's a fox on the back porch just outside the patio door of the lounge. There's me putting the peanuts out, and that's where the camera's switched to black and white for the night at 1912 GMT. Yeah, so I think probably watch the news, and time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 13th of April 2024, 7.5 minutes of photos, including this 1.5 minute summary at the start. Yes, they played tennis first thing, and we took a trip to Longacres to pick up the barbecue, the new one, rather than wait for it to arrive the next day, Sunday. And we were able to put it together. Took a while, and lots of other things all happening in parallel. So yes, checking the sundial in terms of where the numbers went. Yeah, a bit of progress on the robot boat. I managed to find an old logger that worked and get it working. And yeah, what else? Oh yes, some good photos from Becky's young daughter, and family WhatsApp chat later in the day. Check the closed circuit TV. Yes, the hedgehogs and the foxes sharing the peanuts, and 2 hedgehogs at the same time. And what was rather unusual is the big black and white cat that we're not sure where it comes from. It seems that Toadie chased it off, although I suspect Toadie wanted to play and the cat didn't know the difference. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, and lots of things were happening at the same time. So yes, when the sun was out, I checked that. I also checked the trackers, and that showed the women at tennis and on their way back. So I better look busy when they arrive. And yes, so that worked well. And sure enough, I was out there before they actually arrived. And yeah, a few pictures of a place where GPS had been tested with that garden sculpture that June got me over 2 years ago now. Yes, that little tracker worked well, despite where it was in the boot and upside down. And yes, we rang up at Longacres, and the new barbecue wasn't going to be delivered till the next day, but we thought, it's just round the corner, see if we can get it in the car. So we popped into Longacres, and they already said, yeah, come to the click and collect, and that was a very straightforward process. The lads put it in the car, and of course it made it easier when the roof was down. Practically impossible without that. So back home, past a few landmarks, into Armitage Court, and yeah, so Samantha came out to help the process, how best to get it all out. And June's bright idea was to cut up the box, and that's where it's got to go. Yes, took a chance to look at the trackers, and yes, that showed where we'd been to pick it up. And yeah, back home here. Yeah, June looking at the instructions. It was quite a complicated process. I had a bit of a doze at one point, I've been so busy. And we had a relaxation in the sunshine, and got this lovely picture. Naughty signs, and it seems some was being cooked up there. I don't know what mischief some of my family get up to. So yeah, so that was 2 o'clock GMT when it says 3 o'clock BST. So thought, grab the chance to see the direction of the sun. And then I found this amongst a box of junk in the so-called lab summer house, and it was the old tracker that I couldn't find. Well, not tracker, a GPS logger, but it included a GPS, and it got it fired up with the software, and it found some of the old trips I'd made testing it back in 2019. And so yeah, it looked like it was working, and the instructions said what to do with it. And of course the key thing is it needed a long time after all these years to get a good GPS signal. So I left it on there where we got on with other work. Yeah, quick check of the sundial at 3 o'clock GMT. Few snaps of the garden, and what else? Yes, that's the Gunnerer Monte Carlo coming along nicely. And my old GPS software was able to show the raw data coming in from it, so I knew that it was working as a GPS. June was looking at the assembly guide for the new barbecue, and it was a complicated process, and it was definitely a 2-person job. Case of doing it bit by bit carefully. And meanwhile I suddenly noticed the tracking was working, and there we are at the right position on a map. So that receiver, the GPS in it, was then working after all these years of being switched off. And there's the barbecue in place. So well done June and Robin. So a few snaps in the garden. Yeah, a little bit more work on that logger unit. Oh yes, adjusted the closed circuit TV camera that covers the porch area. Just a slight movement, bit better coverage. and ordered some wire. I couldn't get tin copper wire from any local places. If they had it, you couldn't tell by looking at it. Yeah, family WhatsApp video chat, and Toadie decided to interfere, so the chat started in the kitchen, and there's Toadie prowling around. No, you're not having any of the pizza. No. Yes, how about Samantha's? No. And I started the closed circuit TV check in the lounge, and there's a hedgehog arriving for peanuts, and there's a fox. And it's not unusual if the fox is experienced and says, no, don't tangle with a hedgehog, but you can quite happily eat the peanuts a yard or even a foot away from the hedgehog. And there's two hedgehogs at the same time, through to when the camera switched at 04:55 GMT in the morning to colour for the day, and then I'm going backwards. And there is the Toadie stalking the big black and white cat, and we've seen that chase off Bentley. And so basically he was looking around behind the TV outside. Anyhow, interesting. Carry on with the check and hedgehogs, and through to the cameras switched to black and white for the night at 19:22 GMT. Time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 14th of April 2024, 8 minutes of photos, including this 1.5 minute summary at the start. Yeah, checking the directions of the sun for putting the numbers in the right place on the sundial. And we took a trip to a place open for the NGS charity, National Garden Scheme, Lord Wandsworth College. And yeah, that was an interesting visit, including cake and coffee, and then decided to come back across country and pop into Longacres. And I was after some trellis, and we got a special deal there because it was slightly damaged, but it was just the job to do a better job of the front of the so-called workshop, and I ended up putting some camouflage netting over it that we already had. So that was that. June was watching, I think that's the Porta Rossa, the red door, and yeah, I checked the closed circuit TV for the night before, visits by foxes and hedgehogs, and then June's rustled up food for the evening meal, and I decided to take a walk down, since it's Sunday night, down to the Comrades Club and enjoyed a game of pool with my friends. And yeah, so that was enjoyable. Made my way back home, and of course it was quite late then, not long before midnight, so time to turn in. That's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, and of course a lot of things were happening at the same time, so there was less logic to the pictures. Yeah, checking the water level in the pond, I thought, yeah, better top it up, it's gone down an inch or so, just seepage. And yeah, sun came out, and so yeah, that's 11:15 BST, 10:15, and it looked about the right direction for where the 10 had been temporarily glued. Yeah, the Gunnera is coming along nicely. Gunnera mantecata. Just a few glimpses. Everything's grown like mad. Bluebells are up, dandelions. Yeah, looks like turn the tap off there. Yeah, there's all the junk around the side of the house. And the water level now up. Various things marking the depth, or how far it's dropped from full. Coming up to 12 o'clock BST, which is 11 o'clock GMT. And there's the college that I found online. It was open that day. That was the first time it had been opened, apparently, for the NGS scheme. So we took the run. It wasn't that far. Well, it was 25 minutes or so, a bit more than that, half an hour perhaps, down south of Odium. So that's just a photo trail. Yeah, past Odium Airfield, RAF base. And yeah, we're familiar with that village from a long time ago. Lovely little place. And never been into the college. And I looked it up on Wiki before. Interesting history. Old money in banking. And then no heirs. So basically before the First War they'd been bequeathed it to charitable trusts for schools, and it's become a private school. Yeah, it looks at a paper map for taking the cross-country route back. Past a few landmarks, we remember that inn, I think, has been where they were, well, years ago we'd walked through those fields. So into Church Crookham, still making our way home, or rather not home but via Longacres. And there's the trellis, which was on special order. There we go, £14, because they were damaged, so we brought some of that back. And yeah, making our way home, again past a few landmarks, over the Berkshire border, past the Beresteed, into Armitage Court, got home, and now we can afford to take that stuff out, put it around the back where it's got to go. I checked the tracker, yeah, anybody interested could have seen where we went, including walking around Lord Wandsworth College and Longacres, and exactly where the stuff was in Longacres, and back home, just here. Yeah, so put a few screws in, fixed them in position. There was already some framework there, and I had 2 lots of creosote. Now I'd finished up what was I'd describe as proper creosote, but of course I got it on the plants below. June wasn't sure whether that was honesty, as she says, or weeds, but anyhow, washed it off as best I could. And cables had arrived from there, which are tinned automobile cables. That was the key thing to search for, because tin cable doesn't corrode so much, particularly in salt water. So June's watching La Porta Rossa, The Red Door, Italian drama. Yes, looking the closed circuit TV checks, hedgehogs coming to the front porch. Interesting also looking around near the plants, not just peanuts. And the fox comes, and of course sometimes you get more than one fox at the same time. Depends on their relationship, whether they queue. And the hedgehog. The cameras switch at 04:54 GMT to colour for the day, so now going back from midnight, again it looks like a young fox, through till 1924 GMT, when they switch to black and white for the night. And in fact there was yes, Toady relaxing, not sure what that blank screen was there, but yeah, a bit more work in the garden. And yes, I was just checking how that looked on the closed circuit TV, and looked okay. And then we just managed to, with Samantha's help, squeeze lots of the scrap cardboard we had into the dustbin by cutting it up, as the dustbin would come in the next day. I'd take my walk down to the village, just for exercise of course, but also to pop into the Comrades Club, have a 0% Peroni, and enjoy a bit of time there, and of course arrival of my friends and then make my way back home. So it's now getting close to midnight, so back into the house, tidy up things, and yes, the tracker worked. Anybody interested? Oh, Robin's been in the Comrades Club. Time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 15th of April 2024, 6.5 minutes of photos, including this 1.5 minute summary at the start. Yes, spent the on guard duty, including on a table, and yes, Toady as well. Trip early out, early on to Longacres to pick up some more trellis at a low price. Unfortunately, Samantha's car roof wouldn't come down, so June picked us up. And closed circuit TV check for the night before. Hedgehogs and foxes for the peanuts on the front porch. Yeah, 2 foxes sometimes 2 foxes and a hedgehog, sometimes 2 hedgehogs. And Toadie triggering the PAR light. And Raj came round to borrow the strimmers. I gave him one that we knew worked and one that didn't, and there's a good chance they might get that one working. Yes, there's the Pussycats. June watching La Porta Rossa, the door, red door, and time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now the photos, I didn't bother to start taking photos until Samantha and I were on our visit out to Longacres to pick up that trellis. Very low cost because it was slightly damaged like the other ones we had. Only problem was the roof of her car wouldn't come down. So she basically called June to say, could June come out, because we've done it in June's car, and we were able to see June arriving on the tracker. And yeah, sure enough, there she arrived as we expected, and of course easily put that into the back of the car and got it back home into Armitage Court, number 22. I did a sundial check because it was close to the hour, and yeah, trellis went into place pretty straightforwardly. And so Jay's basically tidying up that bit which is where the workshop is. And also the closed circuit TV means it practically disappears as well. There it is over in the corner, so that's good. So what's happening? Oh yes, I got a Chapman's. I picked up another digit, number 5, and glued that temporarily in place. There's Toadie watching what was going on. Closed circuit TV check for the night before, starting from midnight, running forward. Yes, there's a hedgehog after the peanuts. Interesting thing is, he or she was spending time in that plant area, so probably other things there, maybe slugs and things. And there's the back bridge, hedgehog triggering the PIR light on the back bridge, top bridge rather. And there's 2 foxes and a hedgehog at similar times. There's 2 hedgehogs. And yes, there's a couple of foxes again. Interesting, they didn't get on too well. Perhaps they were competitors. And yeah, running back from midnight, that 0454 was when the camera switched to colour for the day. That's GMT. So now running back from midnight, similar pattern of foxes, and that was like Robin returning back from the Comrades Club. That's Toadie checking on the PR. And there's a little mouse. You'd hardly notice it, but his movement and 2 eyes. And the camera switched to black and white for the night at 1927 GMT. So that's the closed circuit TV check done for the night before. There's Bentley looking out the back window. He prowls about all over the place. Yes, that camouflage netting, and they're just taking a picture of the plants. Put those plants in. They weren't very good, but then it turned out that they were just things that I think Michelle had provided one. Sorry about that. Yes, that's Bentley. He's very photogenic. Can't resist taking pictures of him. And I thought I'd do a better job. That little crowned frog gets knocked over regularly, probably the hedgehogs. So I've made a more substantial seating for him, so he shouldn't get knocked over, because he guards the entrance to the mouse fort, or bunker, whatever you like to call it. There's Raj arriving to that picture, and Yeah, these are the pictures in the order they were taken. So I noticed, yeah, not a case of grabbing the opportunity. And yeah, so June's rustled up food. I go, that's Bentley playing with toys in the lounge and Robin's naughty corner. There's Raj. Those are the closed circuit TV pictures from what happened a bit before. And yes, Bentley's decided to look out the window where the robot boat is, and I've got the materials now, so with any luck I might be able to spend the odd hour or two on it. June's watching La Porta Rossa, the Red Door Italian drama, and Bentley's relaxing on the table. Yeah, the lights have come on for the boat. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 16th of April 2024. 11 minutes of photos, including this 2.5 minute summary at the start. Yeah, lots of odds and ends going on. Samantha and June played tennis first thing. Yeah, the trackers gave me warning they're on their way back. 2 trackers, the personal pendant SOS one and the one that goes in the boats. Yeah, pub lunch with grumpy old men. A nice bit of artwork. I recognise those guys. So that was at the Red Lion at Lightwater. So I had a nice meal there and conversation. And of course anybody interested could say, oh, that's where Robin's tracker is, so it's probably where he is. Then we came back for coffee and bickies at Richard's place. Yes, there was a heavy shower of rain. Well, hail actually. And the cats were messing around, Bentley and Toadie. And Toadie gave me a scratch. Play fighting, I think that was. Bentley carried on his guard duty as usual. Yeah, and the women are off again for social tennis in the evening. So the trackers keep an eye on them, including Toadie prowling around. So that shows them at the tennis club. I do the closed circuit TV check for that night. Foxes coming and hedgehogs coming for peanuts on the front porch. 2 hedgehogs there. One of them was more interested in the stuff around the plant. And yeah, the back bridge, there's a hedgehog and also Toadie triggering the PIR, which at least would warn the mouse not to come out. And yeah, Toadie joins me later, put the peanuts out on the top bridge and also the front porch. They'd all went that, you know, those foxes finish them all off, and the hedgehogs. Actual tennis in the evening, and June watches La Porta Rossa, the Red Door, and that's the end of the summary. Yeah, time for bed. So right now all the photos in the order they were shot. So a bit of tinkering around with the garden, including that lattice and camouflage netting. When the time is right, I would do a check. So 10 o'clock GMT is 11 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, when the sun's out, which is briefly occasionally between the clouds, you can check things. So just there, yeah, and that was going through the right position for 10 o'clock GMT, I think, in the morning. And what else have we got? Yeah, just a few photos looking down the end. Plants are coming along nicely. And that's the bog garden end. And what have we got next? Yeah, the pond. And yeah, the patio. Not much work to be done there now, just a question of putting things in the right place. Oh yes, and processing a video like what I'm doing now for the day before, and also on the video front, the early April video was put together. So there's the various trackers showing the correct position at the tennis club, and that looks as though they're on the way back home. So it updates several times a minute, so you get typically less than a minute warning. Yeah, and there they are arriving. So I was out there to see them come in. Yeah, I took a few extra snaps while I was about it, including that bit of furniture. Furniture, did I say? Garden sculpture that June got me for a birthday present, or best part of 3 years ago now, I think. Yeah, that's one of the trackers. That's the other one. That's the Satcoms tracker. Spot, that is. And Toadie was dozing in Michelle's bedroom. He'll claim he gets a bit of sleep in the day to do prowling around at night. That's just looking at the trackers. Oh yes, that was pub lunch. So pub lunch was at the Red Lion at Lightwater. So I was ready for when Stuart arrived, and yeah, went past a few landmarks on the way. I find those old places of interest. Over the motorway into Lightwater and to the Red Lion. That was a lovely bit of artwork. I recognise those four guys. So this is just keeping a record of what we were eating, and yeah, lovely meal, lovely conversations, and then making our way back past again a few landmarks and into Berkshire over the boundary and into Armitage Court. And I just did a quick check of the trackers. Yes, they're working. Checked emails that might have come in, and then yeah, and then popped back for coffee and bickies, and yeah, looking out their back window, and then heavy hailstorm came through, and yes, couldn't avoid getting a little bit damp, even though we waited for the worst of it to go through. There it is on the yeah. Oh yes, Samantha had sent an amusing video she shot earlier of the two cats watching a squirrel. You can't see it very well there, but it was a squirrel. Closed circuit TV showed it better. And yes, the cats are still up to mischief. And there, Toadie gives me a scratch. Play fighting, I think he was doing. Bentley says, oh, I've nothing to do with me. I'll carry on doing my guard duty. That's the hedgehog on the closed circuit TV that Samantha had taken a short video of. And yeah, a bit blurred, but was on the hour, and so 5 o'clock GMT. Yeah, I got a note there that the women are going out to social tennis at that time, so I had a look for on the rain radars, and looks to be alright. Did a bit of work in the background on processing a video, doing exactly what I'm doing here now. And yes, Toadie's watching them go. So that's one of the trackers, and that's the other one, the Spot Satcoms. So they're off. So that's for social tennis. And what's happening next? Oh, you're looking on the trackers, yeah. Look at the pendant SOS tracker. Yeah, shows them getting there okay. And looks like I'm going into the naughty corner here to do the closed circuit TV check for the night. So these are the few pictures I took, just representative really of, there's two foxes at the same time for the peanuts, and a hedgehog, and yeah, and through to when the camera switched at 04:55 GMT for daylight and was into colour. There's two hedgehogs. I'm now going backwards from midnight, and that hedgehog in the foreground was taking more interest in whatever it could find near the plant, near the doorstep. There's two hedgehogs, and that is a hedgehog triggering the PIR lamp on the top ridge, and there's Toadie. So one purpose that lamp has is to alert mice that there's something there that might be a pussycat. 1929 GMT is when the cameras switched from colour for the day to black and white at night. So yeah, the trackers are working. Toadie joins me. Mischievous pussycat. Yes, that's Spot Satcom's tracker. It shows the position right. Tried to look at a few pictures of Toadie, but he's not easy. So basically, oh yes, put the peanuts out, and both on the top bridge and the porch they all went. So combination of foxes and hedgehogs eat all those peanuts up. Right, June had left some food for me, so I popped that in the microwave so that I could have my evening dinner relaxed. Even got as far as a cornet, and then I could see they were on their way back. That's where we are. So they're close, so they'll be arriving soon. So I think I probably went out about the same time though. Yes, there they are on the closed circuit TV. All a bit blurred because it was low light level, no flash there. And yeah, so Toadie said, oh, I think I'll have my supper now. Yes, so the trackers seem to show the right position. So then June's watching La Porta Rossa, and time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 17th of April 2024, 13 minutes of photos, including this 3-minute summary at the start. Yes, started off with Bentley and the women playing tennis, and of course we're testing the trackers all the time. And there they are on their way back home. And yeah, it was Samantha and June playing tennis in the morning, and I made a bit of progress on the boat. The tracker was very badly corroded and things, and needed cleaning. Had to find the right tools like my glasses. Went down to Chapman's, got some rechargeable batteries to put into it, and checked it out, and it was exactly the right position on Robin's Corner. We also took a trip for a garden that was open for the National Garden Scheme charity, not that far away, just south of Odium. Checked the tracker out. Bit pushed for time because we were held up by traffic and we already set off late, but it was lovely to visit the place again. And their sundial, yes, I said it should be pointing that way. And yes, I'd done some checks during the day when the sun was out. I enjoyed that notice. Patrolled by war dogs, I think it said. Yes, and then back into Tesco at Martin's Heron on the way back for the weekly big shop. Unpacked the stuff. Checked my tracker that I wear. Yes, anybody could see, oh, it looks like he went down to Odium. Oh, took a walk round Beach Inwood Farm that was open for the NGS. And then into Tesco. And then we took a walk down to the village, spent some time with their friends there, had a cup of coffee and biscuits, and hello Romeo. Lovely time there. And then back home. And what else? Oh yes, somebody, Toadie probably, left a present which was the remains of a mouse, and Samantha didn't enjoy getting rid of that. Yes, the ONS had put out their graph of total deaths, very useful for lots of things, not just COVID. And closed circuit TV check showed the hedgehogs and the foxes visiting for the peanuts. So June watches Porta Rossa, the Italian drama, The Red Door, and yeah, closed circuit TV checks for the night before, including 2 foxes that didn't get on well. It varies according to whether they're family, I suppose. Hedgehog, no, I don't have any problem. Nobody bothers me. So time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Bentley relaxing on our table. June would say the dining room table, I would say the games room. And when the sun was out, briefly in the gap in the clouds, I checked the sundial to get those numbers in the right places. Lots of other things going on at the same time. June and Samantha at tennis, so they're both trackers there, so yeah, totally relaxing. And Bentley as well, watching him, queuing for the food, I suppose. Hello, Bentley. They're on their way back, so I better look busy when they arrive. I'd already been doing soldering and things. Well, not soldering, but close to it. Oh yeah, so they arrived back from their tennis. So that's one of the trackers, the little Go Top SOS tracker. Just a matter of checking them out. And that's what I was working on, and it was most fiddly when you're trying to find the right tools to not so much clean it, but even better see it in terms of glasses. And then I found my glasses. They were on my tray of electronics there. So then I could see where it was badly corroded, and started off with one of June's nail files and then put sandpaper around it to clean those bad contacts. Check the voltage. But of course what I need is nickel metal hydride cells, rechargeable cells. And yes, Samantha showing her embroidery that she was working on. Yeah, it looked like the sun was coming out at close to 1:30 British summertime, which was near 12:30 midday GMT. Now those are the batteries that I had in there. So down to the village, and I checked in the supermarket, but then Chapman's had exactly what I was looking for off the shelf. So came back with those. And on the way back, I got some kippers from the fishmonger from Grimsby. One of the fishmongers from Grimsby. That's the one who comes on a Wednesday. Ours comes on a Thursday generally. So then made a bit of progress on the spot tracker, the one that anybody can check its position on the Snoopy page. And yes, that looked like it needed an update. Probably needed a better signal, so I put it out on Robin's Corner, where GPS has been tested since the late 1980s, and yes, got a updated position, practically bang on the exact spot, yeah, within a metre or two. And so where are we going now? Oh yes, there was a police community support meeting in the library. Now, I obviously didn't take many pictures there. The previous one I'd been to, whenever that was, some months previously, there was only about 4 or 5 of us local pensioners. This time there was only myself and one other, plus the police lady, of course. Anyhow, carry on with the testing. Now, that tracker seems to be fine. That's the one that's going in Snoopy's robot boat. I also checked my tracker. Yes, anybody interested? Oh, Robin seems to have spent some time in the library. And right, so that's where we thought we might take a trip, and it wasn't that far, just down south of Odium. We'd been there before, so yes, the spot tracker goes in the front of the car, means of checking that, including en route. Just a matter of, I was looking at June's smartphone, I think, on that occasion, but lovely walk around the garden. We left it very late. It was held up by traffic and we were already late, but it was lovely to visit that spot again, overlooking towards Odium. That's the lookout point, almost like a tree house, but it's a platform with seats on it. Lovely, everything's started to come out now, of course. Bluebells, lovely big garden. And I love some of the sculpture, like that little doggy. So, lovely spot. Oh yes, and then the sundial caught my eye. I thought that should be pointing towards the north, towards the pole star. Yeah, enjoyed some of the signs they had. Was that patrolled by war dogs? So it looks like we're on our way home now, on the motorway, and looked at the spot tracker from June's smartphone, and Tesco at Martin's Heron. So that all seems to be working as it should be. And then there's also the spare spot tracker on the back seat. And then I got a phone call from June. Oh, can you come in and help me pack up all the stuff? Well, I did get in there eventually, and I did at least push the trolley back to the car. So then back home, past a few landmarks, including Ascot Racecourse, fire station, the Swinley pub, and into Armitage Court and home at number 22. And yeah, that tracker belongs with the boat, so that's the next job, which will be wiring it into the boat. And yeah, unpacking the shopping. And looking at the tracker that I wear, the Go Top SOS tracker. And yes, it shows Robin walking around that place. And then the supermarket. Yes, but of course June had a call from Bal in the village, and so I joined them a few minutes later, and able to have a lovely cup of coffee and bickies and chat. Yes, Raj with Mum Bal and doggy Romeo. Hello Romeo. He's very well behaved these days. He still tends to want to keep licking people. So we get back home. Yes, that's the tracker, shows where we spent the time. And there's that present on the doormat. The remains of, I think it was a mouse. And yes, a rather unpleasant job. And Samantha cleared it up. We assume it was Toady. And as the graph of total deaths from the ONS, my routine is to print that out and update the website page, because it's far more broader value than deaths due to COVID. And yeah, looks like time to have the evening meal. Robin's warmed his up in the microwave because I was busy doing other things, so I can watch live the visits by hedgehogs and foxes while I eat. Join Jones to watch La Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian TV series drama. And now I'm probably doing the checks for the night, starting from midnight running forward. Yeah, usual pattern. That was probably a hedgehog, but it could have been Toady triggering the PIR light at the back. And there's two foxes that didn't get on at all. So one is saying, no, I'm having the peanuts. So the other one had to wait his turn. But no actual fighting, just snarling at each other. I would imagine they were not family. Through to 0444, when the cameras switched to colour for the day, that's GMT. I've left the closed circuit TV on GMT. So I'm running back from midnight, and that's Toady, I think, triggering the PIR light. At least it alerts the mouse if he's hiding under the bridge. There's the hedgehog through till 1928, when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 18th of April 2024, 8.5 minutes of photos, including this 2-minute summary at the start. Yes, the day before, what I thought had been a dead mouse, because it was cleared up so quickly, was a dead bird, possibly a robin. And that influenced what I did, which is to put a bird feeder within, well, a yard or two of where they might have been caught on the ground after the peanuts. Lots of other odds and ends, combining trips out for garden things with checking the trackers, and sulphate of ammonia is something which I used many years ago on the lawns, and at the same time we saw ceanthus, and also decided a good place to put these plants. So Robin put down the sulphate of ammonia and sprinkled it in on both the front lawn and back lawn, and within minutes June had got the barbecue working. Just a case of turning it on in the right way. Yes, sundial check that was 9 o'clock GMT, which is 10 o'clock BST, British summertime. And at the back end of the day, June watches La Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian drama series, and Robin does the closed circuit TV check. Yes, seeing the foxes and the hedgehogs coming for the peanuts on the front porch, and also round to the back and the back bridge. And those visits rolled into when it got light. And yeah, there's the hedgehog again sharing the peanuts with the fox, quite relaxed about each other. So what we got next? Well, that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the orders they were shot. Yes, Samantha had left those wings there, and then I realised, goodness me, what was it that had been killed the day before? I'd have thought it was a mouse, but when I looked more closely, it was clearly a bird. So, yes, the tracker is pretty well ready to be wired into the robot boat, but till that's done, which will be fairly soon I hope, it was a case of checking it on journeys. And of course when the sun came out, that was at 10 o'clock BST, 9 o'clock GMT, I could check the direction of the shadow, and that looked pretty well okay. Been gradually adjusting the positions of those numbers glued into position temporarily before screwing them in permanently. So that looks about right. Matches up with the real sundial. And June, within a few minutes, oh yeah, that was putting out the bird feed. They get through the food fairly quickly, the birds in our garden. And yes, rearranged that. And yes, that's where I suddenly saw the photo from the previous day's photo trail and saw those legs. So it was clearly a bird. Yes, that was already left over. So what am I going to do about that? I hope it wasn't a robin. Yes, so the answer was another bird feeder, but very close to where the birds might be tempted to come down onto the ground and be vulnerable to pussycats. Then I looked up sulphate of ammonia, and I'd used that in the early 80s on the lawn, and then it'd been difficult to get, probably because it could be made into an explosive. I think mixed it with sugar or something. But now you can get it from lots of sources, very prominently displayed on the packet. So we popped into Longacres, and while we're there we got some plants, and yeah, passed a few landmarks on the way home over the Berkshire border and into Armitage Court. There's the plants, and yes, Bentley relaxing on the games room dining table. So that's the tracker that belongs with the boat and will be wired in. There's Bentley exploring the garden. That looks like a lunch break. And yes, so that's the tracker. Anybody can check that for Snoopy's robot boat. And that took a trip to Longacres, and you can see exactly where the car was parked. And that's my personal tracker that I wear, and you can see where I walked, including where we picked up the plants. And that was one, the ceanthus I think it's pronounced, and we checked the online for the details of how it grows. In fact, it grows wider than it grows high. And so we found a good spot, I think, which is in front of the workshop that I'd put the trellis and camouflage net in recently. And yes, all that hard work digging, but the soil was good there. And we moved some other, give it a good water in, and the plants that had sprung up before, which I think was some invasive species, we put down the end of the garden. Yes, that's sulphate ammonia going down now, sprinkled on the front lawn, then watered in, and the same thing for the back lawn. So I hope that's going to grow vigorously. We had a bit of a relax and watch things in the garden. I was trying to get a photograph of a bee, I think it was, or possibly a wasp. And yeah, so June very quickly got the barbecue working. Matter of pressing the right buttons in the right way. I checked the rain. Yeah, it looked as though there might have been something coming through, a little bit of drizzle. In fact, there's hardly anything that materialised. Yeah, so now putting plenty of peanuts and bird feed on that bird table or feeder in the porch. Closed circuit TV check at the back end of the day. June watches The Red Door, La Porta Rossa, Italian drama series, and I go through the closed circuit TV for the night, starting from midnight forward. Yeah, there's the hedgehog coming for the peanuts. See, also interesting what was in that plant. And there's probably a family, foxes, the elder and the cub, I should think. And there's the hedgehog on the back porch. And it's getting lighter, and yeah, there's a fox coming for peanuts, and through till, yes, it's light now. So that's the end of that closer TV check, I think. Oh, I don't know, I'm getting mixed up. I think I'm now running backwards from midnight. That was the check, if you like, after midnight, and now we're running the check from midnight back. Yeah, same sort of pattern. Hedgehogs and foxes coming both at the front and at the back. There's me putting the peanuts out, and that's where the camera switched to black and white for the night at 1921 GMT, 2021 BST. And time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 19th of April 2024. 10 minutes of photos, including this 2-minute summary at the start. Yes, 3 lots of tennis for the women that day. And also that included with a ball thrower machine at the back end. Anyhow, what else happened? Oh yes, Robin made significant progress on the robot boat. And basically replacement of 240 solar panels, the smaller ones, and yes, with silicon sealant. So pleased with that job. And what have we next? Oh yes, Bentley decided to get involved when the women got back. I don't know whether he also follows the tracker. I wouldn't be surprised. He seems to arrive when they do. And interest in competition for the high ground on top of the cars by Toady and Bentley. And the Amro newsletter, absolutely lovely the way it's put together, but I noticed one little minor mistake, which was one of the places it talked about the AGM, the date not being right. But anyhow, that was easily sorted on the phone. And the back end of the day was with this ball throwing machine from Gary and Saskia, and a lovely meal afterwards, after looking around at that spot with, I think it's called the Gately Green Pond with wildlife on it. Absolutely lovely spot. Yes, the Royal Oak is where we went for our meal in the evening. Lovely spot. In fact, they moved us from the first table next to those lovely couple of little doggies to a slightly larger table. And yeah, Samantha drove us back, and June watched La Porta Rossa, The Red Door, Italian drama, and Time for Bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, the tracker showed the women at tennis, so basically I could look busy by the time they got back, and of course I was busy. But here they are on their way back, so I could afford to go out there. Well, in fact that photo was taken after they arrived. I saw them arriving. So that was the morning's tennis, and yes, the tracker showed where they were, and there's Toadie sleeping on Michelle's bed. So they get back relaxed. Obviously tennis gets switched on the kitchen TV, and yeah, I checked various things, and oh yes, first I heard about it was on the family WhatsApp chat, which was related to having a session of tennis, a third session over in the evening. They booked the tennis court apparently near Yateley. So yes, and I decided, right, what's next? And I found two solar panels. The small ones were 40. There was no voltage coming out of them, and so rather than just wiring, I thought I'd better replace those panels. So I did order some more, because I was down to the last two spare that I had, which seemed okay, but I've ordered I think another 10. And yeah, so terrible state the old panels were in. It was basically corroded, falling apart at the back. They've had a lot of use over several years, so they join the old bits, which, as explains on the box, may not be functional but might be a useful guide. Theirs looks like rustling up lunch in the middle of the day. I tend to be quite artistic with my food, and relax into the naughty corner with a closed circuit TV, and I think I probably did that check for the night. So starting from midnight running forward, this is not all the visits but typical visits. So the foxes come in for the peanuts, and the hedgehogs. This is on the front porch. Sometimes they're quite happy to share. An experienced fox will say, I don't need to put my nose and get prickled against it, I can share the peanuts. And there we have two hedgehogs, and one looks as though he's pushing the other one out of the way. He's saying, no, these peanuts are for me. So you get that competition between animals, and that applies to humans as well, unfortunately. Right, what have we got? Yes, there's a fox. Practically all the peanuts are gone. So by 04:42 GMT in the morning, the cameras have switched to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight. Very similar pattern, same sort of animals at this time of the year, through to when the cameras at 19:23 GMT switch to black and white for the night. And that looks like Bentley prowling around. Yes, so I was able to do a bit of work on the boat, and that's the back end of it, with the replacement panels glued into place with silicone sealant, after testing them, of course. So the trackers show there, that's 2 visits to the tennis court, Royal Ascot tennis court that is. And so we look at the information live, and I'm carrying on checking voltages, which look good, well above 5 volts. And so just the details of where those replacement spare panels go. They were used for something else, but they were already wired up with diodes, so, and they looked in a good state and they tested well, so I used those. Keep an eye on the women. Yes, they're on their way back. So yes, so practically here. So go out. Yes, so they haven't appeared round the corner yet. Bentley must have been tracking them as well, because he decides to come over. Hello, Bentley. it says, oh yes, I might as well come over, see how they are. And yes, that's the GoTop SOS tracker that June tends to go. Here's Toady. So they were going to sit, or rather Bentley was going to sit on Samantha's car that had just arrived, and Toady said, no, this is my high ground. So Bentley said, well, fair enough, I'll go over and sit on June's car. So they're both, well, some people might think they're guarding the cars. I took a picture or two, that's me caught on closed circuit TV, and come back, yeah, relax in my naughty corner. Nice comfortable seating compared with the kitchen. Must have popped out and taken one or two more pictures. Oh yes, the newsletter. Lovely bit of artwork, I would describe it that, of Armitage and Murray Residents Association that's been running since the early 80s. And anyhow, there was a minor confusion about the exact date, and that was sorted out on the phone. So now we're on our way through past the Academy at Sandhurst and the Elephant, past the Royal Oak, and one or two other pubs, to where we'd agreed to meet Gary and Saskia, because they've got this rather expensive ball throwing machine. Well, I spent most of my time chatting to guys like the police and the guys from Turkey that sold the kebabs and the burgers and things, and had a walk round that lovely patch. I think if I caught the sign, that was the Yateley Green Pond, but I might have missed the sign. Yeah, so wildlife there. Young goslings, I think they're called. And absolutely lovely spot. Oh, no, I guess Robin's not allowed to play on the swings and slides. Royal Oak is where we decided to go, where they suggested, and it was a lovely pub, good food, lovely atmosphere, lots of people, very popular. So looking through, I decided to have the beef lasagna. A couple of lovely doggies on the next table, where we sat to begin with, because it was so popular and busy that we found what little table we could, and it was fine. And then they said, oh no, you can have a bigger table, so they moved us. So now Samantha's driving, and we're coming back and got back home, and June watches La Porta Rossa, The Red Door, the Italian drama. Time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 20th of April 2024. 13 minutes of photos, including this 3-minute summary at the start. Yes, a number of things went on, odds and ends in the garden, and there the women at the tennis, and the tracker gave me warning that they were coming back. We did a bit of work, and I found this dead bird on the lawn at the front, and I put it there where it may have been caught, and other things. I tracked down what bird. It was a jay that had damaged the bird feeder I put up as an alternative at the front, and that was done much later in the day. So this tells the story, because I realised I had to fix that bird feeder. And yeah, so we took a trip out to Wisley, the RHS gardens. Absolutely lovely trip, particularly seeing all the little ducklings and also goslings. And June took some lovely clips of video and snaps and things. And of course the main reason we'd gone is June is crazy about orchids, and they've had an exhibition of orchids in a part of the greenhouse. So we went round there, but of course there was lots more to see. Oh, that was the bird of paradise flower, I think. Yes, so went to get some food, and then back home, and yes, past a few landmarks on the way into our place, 22 Armitage Court in Sunninghill. Bentley was on guard duty, as was Toadie, and checked the tracker. Anybody could have seen where we were and where it had gone. Yes, there we are, walking around the various places in Wisley's, including inside the glass house, and back home, just here. Time to do a closed circuit TV check for the night before, starting from midnight running forward. Yes, hedgehogs and foxes, also on the back porch, and Toadie had been sat on the mat watching, and a little fox cub thought better of it than to visit for the peanuts. And that's us getting back the night before. And yeah, so Bentley relaxing on our dining table in the games room, and so is Toadie, and time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. Now through the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, I did a little bit of work just like this for the day before, the processing of video. The women were at the tennis club for a change. I popped out into the garden, and a few snaps there, partly to check the direction of the sun when it was out. And I'm gradually putting the numbers. There's the sundial, the reference one at 9:30 GMT, which would be about 10:30 BST, British Summer Time. That's the direction of the shadow. And yes, I wasn't sure whether that was right on, but I suppose it's the difference between the shadow of the globe and the arm that goes up to it. Yeah, it looks like the women are on their way back to where we are here. So they're practically arrived. So go out, and yes, I'll get there just as they're arriving. And there's the tracker that Jim carries around with her some of the time. And there's Bentley patrolling around, watching what I'm doing in the back garden. And yes, I decided that needed a bit of attention, which is the little sign warning of mice where they can hide. And that's the trip we're considering, which is to Wisley. June's putting out the washing, and there's me tinkering. I put my hood up because it was a bit chilly despite time, and I'm just starting to put the old brass numbers in the British summertime positions, which are 1 hour different, of course. And there's the bird I found on the front lawn. Sad bird. I reckon one of the cats had it, and it could have been from feeding on the front porch. I don't know. So we're off on our trip to Wisley, through a few landmarks like Sunninghill, over the motorway, through Chobham. Lovely little old village, Chobham. As are quite a few villages around. And yeah, we're on the way over the canal. Getting close, I reckon, now. Oh yes, I love that pub on the canal there. Right, so we've arrived at Wisley, the Royal Horticultural Society, RHS, and lovely place. That's the old original place, and of course they've had new buildings built as well. And of course that was the real lovely bit of the visit, which are all those little baby ducks. And I did ask what batteries they put inside them, because they did move quite fast on the water. And that was where I think it was a pigeon nesting inside. Yeah, that looks like wisteria, and that looks like pan. And what sure that looks like a bear that's caught a salmon. I don't think there are many salmon in that bit of water. Quite a lot of other fishes, particularly what look like large common carp to me. Difficult to get pictures of them. There's the giant rhubarb, or Gunnera manticata, that we've got growing in our garden. And that looks like, yeah, skunk cabbage. I think we might have some of that planted, but don't tell June. Yes, and then we get to the greenhouse. I love that bit of sculpture of the hares, dancing mad hares. And there's some ducks on that same lake. So then we go into the glass house, and there's lots of things in the glass house, but the main attraction for us, I think, was the exhibition of orchids in a small part dedicated to orchids. And so went round and took a few pictures of that, and then came back out into the main area, or will have done soon. June pointing out a few things and taking pictures, of course. Yes, I was tempted to pick one, but I didn't. Then we came out, lovely great big waterfall there. So we're now into the main part of the glass house, and that I think is the bird of paradise plant, if I've got it right. And it does look like a bird. Not sure whether that's a banana tree, what it is. Yes, it's very warm in there. It has to be for the plants, including tropical plants. That looks like the cacti. And time to have something to eat. Went past some interesting, what you call it, sculpture done in wood. And we ended up eating in the food hall. I think we'd left it a bit late for the smaller cafe. So I had a lovely snack there. Then time to make our way home. And through Wisley Village, near the canal. I think, no, that's the River Way, I think. That's the canal. I get mixed up. So, then through Sunninghill. Or is that Chobham? That looks like Chobham, actually. Yes, that was Chobham. That's Sunninghill. Over the level crossing. And into Armitage Court and our place at number 22. And there's Bentley relaxing, sunbathing. And yeah, so into the house. Check what the tracker says, just check it was working. Yes, anybody interested has said, oh, where are they? Look on the contact page. And there's the walk around Wisley, including how long we spent in the food hall. And back home, just here, with Toadie on guard duty, sat on June's car, and did a closed circuit TV check for the night before, starting from midnight, running forward. Yes, hedgehogs coming for the peanuts, a couple of foxes, and yes, they do like the peanuts. And on the back bridge as well, you can just about see a fox there triggering the PIR light. There's one bit, that's on the front porch, and that's Bentley sat on the mat, waiting to see what arrives. And a young fox appears, sees Bentley and says, no, I don't think I will. So he didn't pause for the peanuts. There's porch on the back porch, and getting light. 04:38 GMT when the camera switched. And there are two hedgehogs. I'm running backwards from midnight now for the day before. There's Toadie looking for mice. He was there ages. And there's a fox on the front porch. There's us arriving from our trip out to Yateley the night before, and getting close to where the cameras switch to black and white for the night at 19:16 GMT. So that's the end of the closed circuit TV check for the overnight. And Bentley relaxing on our dining table. I put the peanuts out on the top bridge, and also with that bird is a warning to other birds that they're in danger having peanuts from that spot. And I saw that that was broken, which was obviously a bird or something had perched that was heavy on it, and it wasn't until later I did the closed circuit TV check and found out that it was a jay. So time for our evening dinner, which I take into the naughty corner and look more closely, and there it is broken. So the question is, when was it? And that was the first arrival of the jay. In fact, he made several visits, and each visit, the thing, because I hadn't built it strong enough, that was at 12:05, middle of the day that is, and then there's another visit, and every time he visits he perches on it and he pushes it down a bit further. There he is flying off, and there's it bent round at 14:21. Now he's coming yet again. This time it decides to fall apart, I think. Yeah, so there it is falling away. He flies off at 17:37, that was. GMT, by the way. Right, so now we're relaxing at the back end of the day. June's put on the TV, La Porta Rossa, Italian TV drama, time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 21st of April 2024. 13 minutes of photos, including this 3-minute summary at the start. Yes, Bentley playing with stuff in the games room. Little bit of thinking about what to do next on the robot boat, and took a trip out. Oh yes, no, that was the women playing tennis, and I was checking the trackers, both types of trackers, and of course Toadie was guarding the cars when he had nothing else to do. We decided to go to Upper Bolney House, open for the National Garden Scheme, and when I saw the owner, Richard Wilson, I thought I recognised that guy. So I was looking forward to that, and yeah, so we're leaving. A few photos of our journey, and then we get there, and lovely big garden, and yeah, he was keen on old cars, and had several of those. And I looked at their sundial, and I advised them that it needed a slight adjustment. Oh yes, that was paying for the coffee and cake. And yes, now we're leaving, and a call from Bal, and so we decided to swing past them for a coffee and a chat, and also Romeo. Hello Romeo. So back home, what's next? Oh yeah, check the tracker, just to people wanted to know where we were. They could say, oh, there they are walking around that lovely garden. And of course, one of the guys I met there reminded me, it's just lovely coincidences of previous careers and things. So I'll get on with a bit more work, which is removing those brass numbers so they can be repositioned as British Standard Time. But I was missing several, so I ordered some, and yeah, put the peanuts out, and June is watching the Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian drama series, and yeah, there's the foxes, and in that you can see that dead bird that was left out, and you can see when one of the young foxes decided to take it away. Probably didn't eat it, and that's going back from midnight, I think, so that dead bird is still there. And then I decided to take a walk down, and there's a hedgehog feeding, so I took a picture of that live. Walked down to the Comrades Club to have a 0% Peroni, and I haven't got any photos here, but it was lovely conversations with guys that worked in the kitchen at Coworth Park. So back home, time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yeah, started off in the garden, and Bentley patrolling around, inspecting things. Like, that's the old water squirters that need to find at least one extra working one. And yes, the sun was out briefly, so I was able to check the direction again on the sundial, the reference one, and that was bang on. And of course it's all a question of where do you take the direction of the shadow. The globe is the main guide, but of course there's that arm that goes up to it. Yes, did a bit more of the video for the day before, like I'm doing now for this one. And yes, Bentley is enjoying his time in the games room. I'm having a look, deciding, yes, exactly where do we put the batteries and the wiring for the next bit of work on the robot boat. Meanwhile, Bentley's enjoying himself. And there's Toady, wondering what to do next. Makes a change from sleeping. And so that's, yeah, was that yet another trip to the tennis club? I lose track. And yes, I think that was the women coming back from the tennis. Yes, a glimpse of the armed mice guard in the cat forts. Now that was the London Marathon that was on the television. And Toadie's guarding June's car. And then decided, yes, we'd take a trip. It wasn't that far. And the owner caught my eye, Richard Wilson. I remember him as somebody else, a bit of a grumpy old man from what I remember. And so that was their planned trip up, and June pretty well could remember it off the top of her head, familiar places. So time to go. Eventually Toadie got off the car and decided to hang around. So we're off down through South Ascot first of all, and past the railway station, past the racecourse, and wherever that is. Oh yes, Sunninghill I think is the route we took out, over the Thames at Sunninghill. And there's the garden sign, open for the NGS charity. So park in the field across from the house. It was a bit chilly where it wasn't sheltered, so that's why I had my hood up. And there's those old cars that the owner was quite passionate about. I should confess it was a different Richard Wilson. There was a glimpse of the red kite and light aircraft, Tiger Moth I think that was. And that looks like some work going on, possibly for a jacuzzi or something. And that's what was left of a gazebo. No, sorry, not a gazebo. What am I saying? Losing track, doesn't matter. Yes, I'm checking the sundial. And I say, yeah, it needs a slight adjustment. And then we're coming to where we can get... Yes, I tried out that million Turkish lira, but we had a coffee and lovely cake. Relax. Lovely and warm it was. And so now we're on our way past the Griffin, I think that is, and the horses, back to the car, and we're off back home. Then I get a call from Bal. Well, there was several calls backwards and forwards because of things, and I spoke to Samantha and to say she was after a pump for pumping up the tyres so she could get there before we did. And yeah, so we're coming back through Sunninghill, the old village, and past Bluecoat School where a couple of my friends went. And yeah, still on the route back home through Bracknell, past the Running Horse pub, past the Mercedes garage, which is now a bit of a landmark I suppose, past the church, past the race course stadium, into South Ascot, under the railway bridge, and past the Swinley pub and into Armitage Court. No, we didn't go into Armitage Court. We carried on down the High Street and parked there. Popped into the Bansalls, enjoyed the time with them, including having some coffee and bickies. Yeah, pumped up the tyre, although I got a feeling that somebody else helped me with that. So then, yeah, back home. And my old car there needed to run the engine to make sure the battery didn't go flat, and it was a few days since it was last done, so I set that running. And what's next? Probably looking to see, yes, what the tracker said. Yeah, that shows the route up there, and you can zoom in at any place. So for example, there's the walk around the garden, and that's probably coming back via Sunninghill, and where we stopped at the bounce source. And yeah, back home, just here. And of course, the other type of tracker is the Spot Satcoms tracker. So I checked that. That was sort of on the back seat and seemed to show the right positions. And that's where the new Spot tracker is going to go. So spend a little bit of time looking at that. Looks like the engine had charged up the battery, so I was able to turn that off. And interesting guy I chatted to, very interesting, just lovely coincidences, and it reminded me of the late 80s at East Sams and working with the army on the Barossa range. Yeah, make sure I put stuff back in the right place. So those brass numbers, I removed those and then temporarily glued them in the right place, or as best I can, to show British summertime. They need to be polished up, but get their positions right first, and make sure you put things back in the right place. So what we got next? Oh yes, measuring I was short by several of those brass letters, and unfortunately when I went to one place on eBay, they were out of stock of the number I was after, so I used June's Amazon account and ordered some. Looks like June's rustled up dinner, so I put out the peanuts, and yes, including that little bird feeder which has now been fixed. June watches La Porta Rossa, the Italian drama, and I'm checking the closed circuit TV running from midnight forward, and there's the mouse, sorry, not mouse, that was a dead bird that I put as a warning there. You know, beware of going there, birds, because a pussycat might get you. And there's the fox, a young fox cub, that said, oh, what's that? And took it away. I doubt if he ate it, he probably just took it out of curiosity. And that was at 11 minutes past midnight. And there's a couple of more foxes. Yeah, foxes and hedgehogs coming both front and back. That's the top bridge. There's a fox eating the peanuts off the top bridge. There's one at the porch again. And that was 04:36 GMT when the cameras switched to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight. Yes, there's a hedgehog, and also that dead bird, of course, which because this is before midnight, before the fox had taken it away. There's a hedgehog again. These aren't all the visits, but just a flavour of the type of visits. To, I think that was 1933 GMT when the cameras switched. And yeah, I decided to stretch my legs. There's a hedgehog feeding, so I took a picture of that as I went. Walked down to the Comrades Club in our village and had some 0% Peroni. Enjoyed the atmosphere, had a lovely chat with guys there, but there no photographs there. And the guys working in the kitchens at Coworth Park, I think. And right, back home, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 22nd of April 2024, 4 minutes of photos including this 1 minute summary at the start. Yes, views of the pussycats. And we took a trip out and did a recce lunch at the Beefeater, the Cricketers, just down the road at Bagshot, to check out basically the food quality and the service. And what I will say is the service was very good. and no more than that. Then we popped into Longacres, got some sulphate of ammonia, more of that, put it down on the lawns, sprinkled it. Also had some new letters arrived for the sundial, but I still was missing one or two. I said letters, those were numerals. June watched the Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian drama. I looked at the closed circuit TV for the previous night, including the foxes and the hedgehogs and Toady hanging around, and included me getting back from the Comrades Club and taking a picture of the hedgehog when I went out. And so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, one or two first thing in the morning with Bentley sleeping in his usual position, overlooking the back garden. We take a trip out, just down the road to Bagshot, and the Beefeater, the cricketers, and it had been suggested by my friend Richard, but that changed at the last minute, but we thought, we'd still check it out. And I won't say too much about the quality of the food, but it was as to be expected. And popped back into Longacres on the way back, a few landmarks on the way across into Berkshire and home, and those had arrived by courier, and so I'm gradually putting numbers in the right places. So the brass ones will be the British summertime positions, 1 hour extra to GMT. Put down the sulphate of ammonia, watered it in, and June amusing herself watching TV and playing video games, tennis of course. I ordered another one of those numerals, but on June's Amazon account. Oh yeah, there's Toady asleep, or he was practically asleep in Michelle's bedroom. Back end of the day, June's watching La Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian drama. I'm doing the closed circuit TV check for the night before, starting from midnight, running forward. These aren't all the visits, but representative of the hedgehogs coming for the peanuts, and the foxes, sometimes more than one at a time, and sometimes sharing them with the hedgehog, although usually the fox leaves when the hedgehog arrives. And foxes on the back porch after the peanuts, and Bentley hanging around hoping for mice, I would imagine. That's when the cameras switch at 04:41 GMT to colour for the day, so I'm now running back from midnight. Similar sort of pattern, hedgehogs on the top bridge, and yes, all are going to for the peanuts, both at the front and the back. And there's Toady on Julie. There's me getting back from the Comrades Club, and there's me leaving for the Comrades Club, taking a picture of a hedgehog. So that's when the camera switched to black and white at 1940 GMT, and watching La Porta Rossa. Everybody's relaxing basically, including Toady. Time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 23rd of April 2024, 7 minutes of photos including this minute's summary at the start. Yes, a bit of progress on the robot boat and checking the trackers as usual, which relates to it. And the major change was I thought it'd just be wiring, but in fact it was a change of the servo geometry. And anyhow, bit of work in the garden, if you call it work, which is basically tidying up those numbers in GMT and BSD, and a visit from Bal and chatting about things. And on the way back, she said hello to Bentley, who'd been sunbathing in the middle of the road. Back end of the day, take the dinner into the naughty corner in the lounge. June watches La Porta Rossa, the Red Door, Italian drama. I do the closed circuit TV check for the night. Yes, foxes and hedgehogs coming for the peanuts on the front porch and also at the back. Time for bed, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. yeah, that shows the women on their way back from tennis. And yeah, so that's the little SOS tracker, and that is the Spot Satcoms tracker, the spare one, and same type that's going into the boat. And so there's the mapping, and anybody can go to it by the contact page. And yeah, so those trackers are working fine. And yeah, getting a movement alert come through when they moved from the Spot tracker. And a bit of work on the boat. Now, I thought it was just a case of wiring, but what I realised is that yes, I had to, well, basically just put things in the right way, which is the servo geometry. I was checking back on the various blogs and things, and the on startup it has to waggle in the right direction, otherwise it won't steer it correctly. And yeah, so a bit of puzzling there, but eventually sorted it out. And taking pictures as I went, because this is an aid to my memory. Oh yes, that was the other thing, the diodes. Schottky diodes have a very low drop, whereas a normal diode is about 0.7 of a volt. And so I was looking through ones I got, and yes, so the Xena diodes are something different again. And they're all relevant to the power supply within the boat, the solar power supply. So I've ordered the Schottky diodes, and when they come I can make sure they're in and get a oh yes, a bit of work in the garden, checking yes at 2:30 BST what direction is the sun and the shadow. And gradually those, I've got brass letters at the back for BST, which is of course 1 hour ahead of GMT, the silver letters. So clean them up and make sure tools go back in the same place where they can be found, ideally by anybody. It looks like Bal arriving, and yes, have a nice natter there. And on the way out, I see she says hello to Bentley, so I go out, hello Bentley. He tends to just lounge around in the middle of the road. Oh yes, saw a bumblebee on the rhododendrons, flowering now near the oak tree. Put the peanuts out, including on the bird feeder in the porch, so birds aren't tempted to go down and be a prey to cats. And the peanuts, Jim pointed out, I normally keep round the side of the house now, because I was thinking, have we run out of peanuts? And we haven't. Yeah, so did a bit of cleaning up on the sundial. Had a nice phone call with John. And yeah, so back end of the day, June's rustled up food. I take it into the naughty corner in the lounge, so I can, oh yes, I got that message related to the trackers, and I'd left a couple of the GoTop trackers unattended and they got flat, and so I put one on charge, and hopefully it won't be too difficult to get it working again. But yeah, there's Porta Rossa, and doing the closed circuit TV checks from the night before, from midnight running forward. These aren't all the visits, but typical. So there's hedgehogs at the back porch after foxes at the front porch, and yeah, hedgehogs. And there's a fox. They're different ages, and there's a fox on the back porch. I say back porch, back top bridge. There's a hedgehog again. There's a fox and a hedgehog. Sometimes if it's experienced fox, he says, "Oh, fine, I can eat the peanuts without getting my nose prickled." 0446 GMT is when the camera switched to colour for the day, so I'm now running back from midnight, Similar sort of pattern, foxes and hedgehogs. It varies through the year. Sometimes we get other animals. And there's Toady, I think, that was on duty. And that was Samantha getting back, and the camera switched to black and white for the night at 19:28 GMT. So that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 24th of April 2024, 6 minutes of photos including 2 minutes summary at the start. Yeah, we took a bit of a wasted trip out really to Wicks and also B&Q, hoping to pick up some basically letters for the sundial, and yes, greeted by Bentley when we got back. And we'd already booked tickets for that thing, but I'd got it wrong in terms of what it was. It was in fact Robert of Chapman's was going to give a talk on more recent things, and I went along with a printout of stuff relevant to the war, and yeah, anyhow, it was a thoroughly enjoyable chat, and absolutely lovely stuff. Photographs handed around, including the dramatic fire at Chapman's, and as I think he said, good job he had insurance. And very interesting conversations. So we left that, and yeah, past Chapman's, back home, greeted by Bentley coming over for supper. And then it was only then that I realised my stupid mistake of what was going to be the subject, which was, I thought, would up until Victorian times. But anyhow, yeah, closed circuit TV check, usual visits of foxes and hedgehogs to the front porch and also the back garden. So that's the end of the summary, and so now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, so a little bit pieces being done on different things, but the main thing was a trip out. And yeah, I didn't take many photos on that trip. There's more information in the tracking. Some stuff arrived, which are the solar panels, the small solar panels, so I've got plenty of spares of those, and I did a check on those and they were good. And what else? Put the peanuts out, both on the top bridge and the front porch, and yes, including that bird feeder. And Bentley came over, just for a change, looked on the tracker, and that shows a trip out to Wicks at Woking, or Nap Hill as I refer to it, and also to B&Q and back home. And anybody could see also the spot tracker, that's the spare spot tracker, the same type that's going in the boat, and that worked fine. Back to just here. And then of course these photos were taken thinking the lady was going to give the presentation on much earlier history, and so I went with a couple of relevant printouts to leave her as a little note. And yes, I'm relaxing at the back end of the day there. And so now we're off down to the village, doing Thorries. It may as well drive the car down and park it in the car park round the back. And yeah, there's the library next to the school where the Ponsfords went, and the Lovelocks, other than me of course. And lovely old photographs everywhere, and these are being handed out amongst the crowd so we could look at them and pass them on to the next person. And there was a very dramatic fire, and because Robert was obviously giving his lots of interesting information, but Chapman's has been the centre of the village for some many years. And of course there's stuff up on the walls. It's just a sample. That's in the library. So then, time to leave, past the school, past Chapman's, and yes, by car, even though it's only just up the road. And Bentley's over, and it's then that I thought, my stupid mistake, when I looked it up, I'd got the wrong event, the event that had been the previous time. So yeah, women. June is watching La Porta Rossa, The Red Door, the Italian drama, and I'm checking the closed circuit TV, starting from midnight, running forward. These aren't all the events, but a typical fox coming to the front porch, and also the top bridge at the back, and sometimes there'd be a hedgehog and a fox. And a mature fox wouldn't be deterred, he'd just make sure he didn't get his nose prickled. And there's the hedgehog coming to the top bridge, through to when the camera switched at 04:47 GMT to colour for the day. And now I'm going back from midnight, and there is Bentley on patrol near the bridge, probably hoping for a mouse to pop his head out. There's a hedgehog coming to the front porch. There's a hedgehog coming to the top bridge at the back, through till 1934 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So, time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Thursday the 25th of April 2024. 7.5 minutes of photos, including this 1.5-minute summary at the front. Yes, that's Bentley from opposite, where he likes to spend his time. And it was a trip out to the Cricketers Beefeater at Bagshot for pub lunch with grumpy old mates. And after that, we came back here for coffee and chat, and the lads left. So what's next? Yes, Bentley's still there enjoying, and I get a glimpse live on closed circuit TV of the squirrel, and there is again outside the window, after the peanuts of course. And I decide a trip to Hobbycraft just down the road at Bagshot, but in fact it ended up with a longer trip than that, because I was looking for letters, and June insisted Robin has to pay for topping up with petrol. So we also went to Hobbycraft at Woking, and I got the letter that wasn't in stock, and then used very smelly resin for coating those letters, because they're going to go outside on the sundial. Did the closed circuit TV check for the night, starting from midnight running forward. Foxes coming for the peanuts and hedgehogs. Sometimes two foxes at the same time, and that's Bentley looking for mice. There's two hedgehogs, one chases one off. And yeah, so time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Bentley relaxing in the laundry basket that he's taken to being quite a comfortable place to spend most of the day. We don't have any objections, because he helps train Toadie in guard duty around the house. And yeah, time to put the peanuts out. Yes, that mirror is quite useful, looking round corners. Looked at the rain radar. Yes, it looks like some showers might be coming through. So I'm ready there, relaxing, waiting for the lads to arrive. And there's Stuart, who's kindly providing chauffeur service. And then we're off, past a few landmarks, including the Windmill pub, to the Beefeater, the Cricketers pub at Bagshot. Enjoyable conversations, and we all ordered curry, but in fact I had something different because the curry had run out. And so after that we returned home for coffee here and biscuits and conversation, of course. And the lads leave, and so I said to June, oh yes, she says, he's still there, Bentley's still there on the laundry basket. I get a glimpse of that squirrel on the closed circuit TV live, and I thought, how did he get up there? Well, yeah, he just simply climbed up and jumped back, went down the pole, and that's how he got onto the flat roof and got up there. And then I saw one outside the window, So I took some photos of there. That was coming to the top bridge just outside the door. And yes, it showed up reasonably well on the closed circuit TV. Oh, looks like I'm checking the tracker. Anybody interested where Robin was? Oh, it looks as though he spent time, probably lunch, at the Beefeater at Bagshot and got back here okay. Had a quick look at the sundial. Yes, it's starting to rain as half expected. Tried Hobbycraft, but unfortunately they didn't have the letter T in stock. So via the filling station, Hobbycraft at Bentley did I say at Bentley? Sorry, Freudian slip. That was at Woking. So coming back through Chobham, lovely little village that, and a few landmarks on the route through Sunninghill, over the level crossing, back into Armitage Court, back home at number 22, and lay those letters out. And I was thinking, what am I going to do next? Oh, it looks like I checked the trackers, because there's also the Spot Satcoms tracker, the type that's going in the boat, and that showed pretty well the right positions. Doesn't update as fast as the other one. And yeah, that was stopping for petrol. That was probably Hobbycraft at Woking, and back home just here. June's rustled up dinner, which is effectively a soup, I guess, casserole, chicken casserole. And yes, so I do the rather smelly job of using the resin, fast glass resin, excuse me, and that's to protect it, because that material is going outside on the sundial. June's watching Back from Paradise. I'm doing the closed circuit TV test for the night, starting from midnight running forward. These aren't all the visits, but just representative ones. So there's a fox coming for peanuts on the front porch. That's, yeah, I think that was a fox. Also hedgehogs come to the top bridge just outside the back. And there's a hedgehog on the front. There's a fox. Through to when the camera switched to daylight 0433 GMT. Then running back from midnight. Two foxes together, probably family, since they're happily sharing the peanuts. And that's Toady guarding the bridge, hoping for mice to appear. And there's one hedgehog barging off the other hedgehog. Perhaps they were competing males, don't know. Through to when the camera switched at 1938 GMT for black and white for the night. So yeah, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 26th of April 2024, less than 9 minutes of photos, including about 2 minutes of summary at the start. Yes, Bentley in his favourite position, relaxing, and a little bit of work related to the sun tile. Because the brass letters hadn't arrived, I decided to improvise them and got some silver paint so that I could do the GMT ones. And yeah, there's Toady finding another position to relax in the garden. June goes off to the dentist. He had quite a long appointment there. And what surprised me was that the tracker not only worked, that's where she went, but it actually gave the address as 50 High Street, which is bang on where she was. Anyhow, my Schottky diodes were put in place, and that made a big difference on the voltage drop from the solar panels and duplicated power through, and so that was definitely an improvement, probably a half a volt improvement on the power supply. Yeah, so back end of the day, closed circuit TV check, hedgehogs coming to the front porch for peanuts, and the foxes. Yeah, hello fox. and the back top bridge just outside the patio door, and Toadie looking for mice appearing. Yes. So basically, oh yes, I decided to put out some more peanuts because very soon all those peanuts at the front were going. So time for bed. That's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, there's Bentley relaxing as he does for quite a few hours in the utility room, and he's found that laundry basket very comfortable. We've got an objection. I did the processing of the video from the day before, a bit like I'm doing for this one, and then it was a question of those 5 letters, because the brass ones hadn't come quickly enough, or we hadn't got them quick enough. I thought, well, where am I going to put those? And I decided that's not a bad place. So, yeah, got to paint them first. So I decided to do the BST ones in, well, gold, near enough, matching the brass letters, or rather brass numerals. And yeah, the sun was coming out pretty well, bang on 11 o'clock BST, or 10 o'clock in the morning GMT. Yes, and that matches up with the proper sundial. And so I decided I needed some silver paints, and I couldn't find any, so I took a walk down to Chapman's Ironmongers over the railway and picked up some silver paint, which I brought back so that I could then paint the GMT letters to match. There's Toadie out in the garden, not far from the sundial, probably hoping a mouse would be stupid enough to appear. So then decided where those are going to go. That's after they've dried. And yeah, June's watching TV, and yeah, so then I use that no nonsense spray glue to glue them in place. They can always be fixed if I need to fix them, and put things back in the place where I can find them. So while I was about it, I thought, yeah, take a little trail down of the plants coming along nicely, including the bog garden at the end with a Gunnerer manticata, giant rhubarb coming up, and on through. All the plants are growing like mad in April, and yes, that was planted a few years ago, a few days ago. There's Toadie found another place to relax, which is Juna put a cover, effectively a barbecue cover, that wasn't the right size, so she put it over the chairs. So back and relax. Oh yes, June's off to the dentist, so I thought, oh, I'll check the tracker, see how good it is. I was quite surprised. So anybody could see where the trackers are just by going to the contact page. And of course, it's all a question of if somebody's wearing or carrying the tracker. And it says 50 High Street. Now I checked 50 High Street, and yes, that was the dentist. Bang on. Could be lots of ways, of course. That it's not just data. Is not only just GPS. It's lots of other sources. Local area networks, optical tracking, lots of things. Now that's the Schottky diodes that drop a lot less volts than 0.7 of a volt. And I don't think when I'd done the work on the boat last, I'd actually used Schottky diodes for that link from the duplicated solar power through to the combined. And it did make a big difference. You know, a fraction of a volt, as much as half a volt, does make a difference on a 5-volt supply. So, oh, that's the text-to-speech unit, which I checked in the lab, and it worked. So put it on the boat and switched on the boat autopilot, and yeah, it all works as it should. And that looks like checking again on June, because I think it was about a 2-hour appointment. And yeah, thumbs up the track. I had a bit of a doze, I have to confess, and then woke up, and it was about the time that June was returning back. Yep, there she is on the closed circuit TV. I checked the peanuts, and yeah, topped up the peanuts both at the front and at the back. Yes, that's the fairy. And getting later in the day, June's relaxing, watching, I think it's Return from Paradise. I'm doing the closed circuit TV checks for the previous night, running from midnight forward. There's two hedgehogs, and one hedgehog I think was barging the other one out the way, so they had all the peanuts. There's a fox. You get several different foxes coming for the peanuts. There's the fox coming to the top bridge just outside the patio door of the lounge. There he is from another camera. There's Toadie watching where mice might appear. 0434 GMT was when the cameras switched to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight. There's a hedgehog on the top bridge. There's a hedgehog at the front porch. After the peanuts, of course. There's a fox. And it's funny, they're all these animals are individual in terms of their experience and whether they're nervous or quite relaxed in the presence of people or hedgehogs and things. All a matter of experience. There we go, 1937 GMT, when the cameras switched to black and white for the night. And June's watching that. I decided I need a few more peanuts out there because they do all go. So I put a generous extra dose of peanuts. So time for bed, end of the photo trail. Saturday the 27th of April 2024, 15 minutes of photos including this 3-minute summary at the start. Yes, we knew it was going to be a busy day from the diary, but I didn't realise how busy. Like, I only found out that morning that there was a Ascot Tennis Club barbecue, and anyhow, the women had their usual tennis first thing in the morning. And then we got back and they said, oh yes, we've got this. So I wrote it in the diary. And also I knew from the Residents Association newsletter that there was an event up there. Somewhere else anyhow. Into the lovely barbecue there, and of course conversations, a lot of fun. And part of it was showing a photograph from over 50 years ago to people who knew Samantha and June. Yeah, glimpses of the red kite, so nesting not that far away. And then time to go from that and back home. And the next event, which was in the newsletter, was over at the Bray Village Hall, just round the corner from Bray Lake, which I know from the Snoopy robot boat testing. So we easily found it. Lovely little village, of course, we know well, and had a look round there, and then went, since it was close by, went into Bray Lake. And really I spoke to Scott, and it was mostly to thank them again for good work they'd done in clearing all the vegetation to make it easy for a test. So back through the village, home, yeah, check the trackers. And anybody interested say, oh, looks like Robin's been walking around Bray Lake. And of course, that was an important thing that I'd done, and I was in the middle of doing that, and we had a visit from the Vansells. Very enjoyable visit, including showing young Damon how to change batteries in that device. Put the peanuts out, listened to the Radio 4 news, and then it was a trip over to Tringham Hall for the meeting of the Chobham Common Model Flyers Association. And yeah, memories discussed of flying as early as the late 1970s on Chobham Common. And of course, that was happening at the same time as the video chat. June was in the car, and that continued on the journey back and at home with family. And yes, at the back end, June's watching Superman. I'm doing the closed circuit TV check, usual visits of foxes and hedgehogs for the peanuts at the front and at the back. So time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Bentley in his favourite position, sleeping in the laundry basket. And I think that's because when Tony comes in, he doesn't see Bentley up there. And yeah, put out the peanuts, and yes, check the sundial, and those improvised letters. Other ones arrived through the post, believe it or not, but they were a bit late. I'd already had to improvise them. But lots of things all going on at the same time, and people could guess what we were doing by looking at the trackers. So yeah, that's the women on their way back from their tennis in the morning. That's June and Samantha. And yes, I'm out there before they actually arrive. The tracker worked well. That's the white Go Top SOS tracker. And yes, I'd forgotten to the car's off the road, so it's not a matter of retaxing it, and I've forgotten to do that, so that was higher priority list. And they arrived through the post, but too late. I'd already improvised, so they get filed those metal letters. And what's next? Yes, look at the rain. Yeah, it looks like it's going to come in the evening. A bit of processing of the video from the day before, exactly what I'm doing right now. And June is playing video games and watching, and then she mentions the fact they had the barbecue, and of course I had those other events on as well already in the diary, and memories of the event we had at the tennis club, best part of 2 years previously, 18 months I think. And yeah, so there's some emails going out there alerting friends to what a busy day it was going to be, and anybody interested might want to at least see what we're doing, even if they didn't participate. And yes, there's Toadie on guard duty, and there's the tracker that's going in the boat, the Spot Satcoms tracker. So of course whenever there's a trip out, it's an opportunity to test the trackers, including the type that go into the boat. And that's on a trip out through South Ascot and round past the fire station into the Royal Ascot Tennis Club. And we were lucky with the weather. The rain was holding off, and occasionally the sun came out, and glimpses of the red kite, or kites, there's quite a few locally. Yeah, check the smartphone tracker on my SOS tracker. Yes, I actually bought some tickets, lottery tickets, but weren't there long enough to find out. Oh yes, I had a bit of fun with that. That was over 50 years previous, and of course it was interesting to see if anybody recognised Samantha and June from that photo. There's the red kites, quite a swarm of them. Enjoyed our barbecue, and then we were off for a brief spell back home, back through South Ascot, into Armitage Court, into number 22. Yes, I checked the tracker, and yeah, showed walking around inside the tennis court area and the clubhouse. And then the Spot Satcoms tracker, which is the type that's going in the boat. In fact, that is the actual same tracker that's destined to be put in the boat. And that all seemed to be working as it should. Back here. And then the next trip was out to, about 20 minutes or so north to Bray Village Hall, just round the corner from Bray Lake, where we test the robot boat. It's also where the Thames Hospice is. And of course, as we're going, there's there's Bentley relaxing in the middle of the road. And so we're off through the village, past Chapman's and the Jade, and through Firefield, past the Thames Hospice at the side of Bray Lake, and into Bray Village, and easy to park near the village hall. Lovely little village it is. And yes, I know that place, so just across the road from village hall. So we had a walk round there, see what they had, which was mostly things like jewellery and stuff. And then, since we were nearby, popped into Bray Lake. It was mostly, so in fact the person I spoke to was Scott, and Simon was out, I think, teaching paddleboarding, but it was mostly to repeat my thanks for the good work they'd done of clearing the willows and things around the edge. So when we do test right over at Bray Lake, the boat, it'd be much better. So back home through Sunninghill, the Courts Hall, the cinema, Raj Vuj, yes, my barbers, and the Comrades Club, out of the village and back home. And that's the tracker that's going into the boat. So yes, I checked that. That's the Spot Satcoms, so it'll work right in the middle of the Atlantic if the boat got that far. And then I checked the other tracker, which is the little GSM based one, and that showed, including my walk around to near the clubhouse. And yes, that I should have put in the necessary paperwork. A very simple online process, and that went well. So the key thing is it was interrupted in the middle by a lovely visit, and there was a bit of fun there, because little Damon was very interested in that, but the trouble is the batteries had run flat. So he would then learn how to check the batteries and replace them. And it brought back memories. That was for the evening planned trip to Tringham Hall, of model flying from the late 1970s, but mostly from the early 80s on the Common. And yeah, there's Toadie coming in, and I'm just checking a few things like the rain, and yes, the rain, it's going to be just drizzle, but quick looking at the pond so that see what the levels are. Yeah, make sure there's plenty of peanuts there. June has rustled up a curry, so I'll take that into the naughty corner of the lounge, listen to the Radio 4 news. Then we're off to Tringham Hall, checking the tracker, yeah, drizzle, past Lightwater and into Tringham Hall, easy parking. There weren't that many people there, but it was great to see people who'd been flying on that Common for years. Yes, they had a couple of models there, interesting models. We didn't stay that long, unfortunately, because there was a video WhatsApp chat going with family. June was doing that in the car, and then I joined it, and it continued on the journey back and back at home. And of course I checked the tracker in case anybody interested was saying, oh yeah, he did make it to Tringham Hall, as he said, and that's how long they spent there, and then back here home. And June's watching various things, tennis, and at the same time got the video chat still going. And yeah, took a look outside because rain was expected to get heavier that night, and want to see what the level of the pond was so that we'd see. And closed circuit TV check, and for the previous night, starting from midnight running forward. These aren't all the visits, but are typical. Yeah, sometimes you get more than one fox at a time, and the hedgehog coming for the peanuts, and both at the front porch. Plenty of peanuts I'm putting down there now, so they don't run out too quickly. And yeah, there's I think that's a hedgehog triggering the PIR light on the top bridge just outside the lounge patio door, through to 0441 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day. Now I'm running back from midnight, similar sort of pattern. Things like hedgehogs visiting for the peanuts at the back, and there's a hedgehog there triggering the PIR light as it climbs up for more peanuts. And there's a fox, same place, top bridge. There is fox and a hedgehog on the front porch. And yeah, I decided to top up the peanuts. Oh no, that was from the night before, 1944, when the cameras switched from colour to black and white for the night. So June's watching Superman, I think that is. Yes. And so time to go to bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 28th of April 2024. Over 10 minutes of photos, including this 2-minute summary at the start. Yes, Bentley keeping an eye on my work, if you call it that. And yeah, some work needed on the cars. June needed oil to top up, so we took a trip to Halfords and Staines, and used it as a means of checking the trackers as well. And yeah, so it's a matter of making use of things. So that was, I think that was the spot tracker saying go on there, and there's also my personal tracker. And I used the opportunity to get some resin, a bit smelly, and had a visit by the Bansals. That was enjoyable. And yeah, and then I carried on with my so-called work, making some spares of little solar panels with those. And there's Bentley from opposite saying, should I come down? And we were looking at the cars. I took out that Go Top solar tracker. Been having problems with those, and fingers crossed that it'll get sorted when I hear back from Alan. Yeah, closed circuit TV check shows the hedgehogs and foxes coming for the peanuts at the front and the back, including the top bridge. There's a hedgehog, there's a little fox, I think, hedgehog again. And yeah, that was the closed circuit TV check, and put out some more peanuts, put out plenty now so they don't run out so quickly. June watches Superman. I decided to get a bit of exercise and walk down to the Comrades Club in the village and enjoy a 0% Peroni and the atmosphere. And yes, that's my tracker, showed me where I was. So then make my way back, quite late then, so time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Bentley relaxing in one of his favourite positions. And yeah, I'm putting on the Schottky diodes that I'd got onto the spare small solar panels, and those are the sort of things that I can use. There we are, there's an example of me checking it out on the windowsill that gets a bit of light. Doesn't need full sunlight to work. Check the weather. Yeah, it looks as though not much rain expected, if any. And yeah, that was from yesterday's or the overnight's rain, so the pond had topped up a bit. And yeah, just a few snaps down the garden, including the sundial with the improvised BST and GMT letters, because the others hadn't arrived quickly enough for me to use those. And yeah, the bottom bulk garden is coming along nicely, including the gunner manticata. That's looking back up. And yes, June's decided he needs to top up the oil, so we're trying to understand what the workshop manual says. It's not too bad trying to work out things. And of course I've also said, my car needs to run the engine. It's sat there, otherwise the battery would go flat. June spoke to Gary and he said, yeah, that sort of oil you've got, Halford's 5W30 is fine. And of course the workshop manual gave some complicated thing. They don't want you to change the oil yourself, do they? They want you to go to a dealer. You've got to pay a load of money to the right there. Anyhow, to Halford's in Staines, so not that far along the road. Yeah, check out both types of tracker, including the spot tracker that's going in the boat. And yeah, there's my car, so that's been running long enough to charge it up. And so we're off now through the village, past Chapman's, past where June's family once were, crossways past that ruin at Virginia Waters. Came from Libya, I think that, if I've got that right. And to Halford's at Staines. And I used the opportunity to get some more fast glass resin. And we swung into Dunkirk Nursery. And yeah, and then on our way back past Holloway College, along the A30 that is, I think. And where are we now? Crossways, yeah, and into Sunninghill, the Cords Hall, the cinema, up the High Street, past 3-1 Barbers, and back home. And that's the little tracker, so took that out of the car, checked the voltage, yeah, nice healthy voltage on it. And then looking at the spot track of where we'd gone, that's SATCOMs of course rather than mobile phone communications. That seemed to be okay. And then my personal tracker, that's a very cheap GSM based thing, and yes, obviously more detail because it updates more often. And back home, just here. So those are those spare ones, and because I had the resin, which is very smelly, I opened the doors and shut the internal doors. There's a little squirrel that Raj had noticed because they popped in for a chat for a little while. And yeah, so they leave. I continue with putting the spare solar panels, which are all dried then, and so I've just one that's used for the tracker when it's just to keep it topped up. And there's Toady, and he's looking out, and who does he see but Bentley thinking of coming over. Hello, Bentley. It has been known for them to jump up on the same car. Well, I decided to take that, I called it on the public page, AVL page, Go Top 1, the first solar tracker that I bought. And of course I'd left those for months, and they got discharged because they weren't in any sun. And hopefully they will start working again. I sent an email several days ago to Alan at GoTop, who's always given excellent support in the past. And oh yes, that was the email that I sent to him. And there's Toady. I'm listening to the Radio 4 News, and there's a squirrel coming for peanuts on the bird feeder that is up on the flat roof. This looks like the closed circuit TV checks for the night before, starting from midnight, running forward. Yes, foxes and hedgehogs come in for the peanuts on the front porch, and through till 04:57 GMT when the camera switched to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight, same sort of pattern, and there's a hedgehog on the patio, and also triggering the PIR light on the top bridge, climbing up there for the peanuts. There's a young fox, by the look of it, coming for peanuts. There's a hedgehog again, front porch, and I think that's a hedgehog, yes, a hedgehog on the top bridge, and getting light, and 1932 GMT is when the cameras switched from colour to black and white for the night. So June's rustled up fish and chips, that looks like. I take it into the naughty corner, eat that, and I think, ah yes, looks like the peanuts need topping up. So do that. Make sure there are plenty of them. And June watches Superman, and it seems the right time to take a walk down, since it's a Sunday night, down to the Comrades Club. Enjoy a 0% Peroni, relax, enjoy the atmosphere. And yes, my tracker showed on my smartphone. Yes, sorry about that, that's the screensaver. Made my way back, and of course it's getting quite late in the evening by then. Time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 29th of April 2024. Less than 10 minutes of photos, including less than 2 minutes of summary at the start. Yes, a bit of work, if you call it that, in the garden, including checking the sundials, and also a bit of progress on the boat. Basically realising that the SIM cards have run out on those other two goat trackers, and Mobius video camera, one of those works okay, so this is part of the test equipment to go on the boat. I'm at the stage of deciding, yes, we've got a camera that works, but where shall we best put it on the boat? Put out the peanuts, plenty of those, front and the back, and yes, including that. Off to pick up Michelle, testing the tracker as well at the same time, from the railway station, down from Coventry, with her cat Lady. Yes, the tracker seemed to work okay. That's the one that's going in the boat, the Spot Satcom's tracker, and also the one I wear. Okay, so back end of the day, and eating and closed circuit TV checks running from midnight forward. There's hedgehogs, there's a fox on the front porch, and also at the back. Even when it's starting to get light, there's a little hedgehog after the peanuts. So then, what's next? Well, they're watching something or other on the TV, Jurassic Park 2, and yes, Lady's amusing herself with the various toys and things. Quite likes it there. Tony gets on with her okay as well. And so they're watching the TV, time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. Yeah, so not far from 1 o'clock BST, which is about 12 o'clock midday GMT, which is how sundials work. So when the sun is out, you get a chance to check the direction of the shadows. Of course, not helped if there's trees and things in the way. Took the opportunity to take a few snaps down the garden, because everything's grown brilliantly, including the bog garden down the end with the, oh yes, there's the plants coming up inside the pond as well. That's looking up the garden, and there's a bit of garden sculpture, I suppose you might call that, a PIR light. That's the so-called duck pond, no ducks of course, and the top pond just outside the patio door, and the water squirter, checking that's working. It gets complicated when there's bits of vegetation that can flutter in front of it. And peanuts, yes, feed that as the sundial that's been there for a good few years. And then taking a look at these GoTac trackers, the solar power trackers that had stopped working months ago, and it's because I'd simply left them somewhere where they weren't getting sun, so they'd gone flat. But eventually, by putting the SIM card into an old phone, I was able to confirm what happened is because that hadn't been active, that SIM card, for months. It'd been turned off. At least that's what it looks like. So probably need to do some other solution to get those trackers working, but they're not high on the priority list. They're just spare experimental trackers at the moment. Had a bit of a doze. Yeah, it'd been a busy day. Woke up, and what was then? Yeah, looked outside. Another time to check. Trouble is, there was cloud in the direction of the sun, so it was about a bit after 4 o'clock BST. And oh yes, I improvised. We got that overflow still leaks and floods the plants in that plant pot, so I improvised something to divert most of it. Now that's a bit of testing of the Mobius camera, which still was working, still had old videos on it from years ago, testing on Bray Lake. And the question is, after confirming yes, where's a good place to have it on the boat, even though it's just a temporary thing added? In fact, what I also found is the time and date on it was pretty accurate. And so a bit of mechanical work to find a good place for it. Put it on charge and looked on what it said about the Mobius camera on the experimental blog, and yes, looking at where's a good place. So it's just a question of the mechanics of how it's mounted temporarily for testing. Put out the peanuts, made sure there are plenty of peanuts there. Oh yes, the rhododendrons are coming out nicely. And yeah, put one of the trackers with another little solar panel on it to go and pick up Michelle. So through South Ascot to the railway station, and she came in by train bang on time. So into the car and back home. Yes, into South Ascot, past the Swindy pub, into Armitage Court, and number 22, unload, including Lady the Pussycat. And yeah, so back onto other things. Yeah, how did the tracker work? So that was the Spot Satcoms tracker, the one that's going into the boat, and that was working fine. And then I've got this personal tracker as well, which obviously shows in more detail exactly where the tracker has been, and probably me if I was with it. Back home, just here. So relax, I suppose. They're watching various odds and ends like tennis. Junior's rustled up, looks like salmon and rice. Michelle grabs the naughty corner in front of the closed circuit TV, so I have my meal somewhere else, and then later able to go there in front of the closed circuit TV and check for the night before. So that's running from midnight forward. There's hedgehogs coming to the front porch for peanuts. The mirror enables you to see round the corner. Most animals are very relaxed about seeing their reflection. And then on the back porch and the top bridge, there's a hedgehog coming for peanuts. There's a fox again on the front porch, and there's two foxes at the same time. Some animals are competitive and some aren't. It depends on the individual. Some of them could be family, of course. And there's a hedgehog at the same time as the fox, but the fox said no. I think it was a less experienced one, realised that they're okay if you don't put your nose on the prickles. And what we got there, that's hedgehog triggering the PIR, and that's during daylight. Usual thing, coming for the peanuts. So that was through till 04:26 GMT, 05:26 BST, when the camera switched to colour for the day. Now I'm running back from midnight, so similar pattern of foxes and hedgehogs coming for peanuts on the front porch. These aren't all the visits, they're just representative. And there's a fox on the top bridge at the back. And there's a hedgehog triggering the PIR light. There's me getting back probably and going to the Comrades Club, because that was the Sunday night. And then the cameras switched to black and white at 19:48 for the night. So that's the end of the closed circuit TV checks for the night before. So women are doing the usual things, watching tennis and playing video games and all this sort of thing. It looks like I've got some things happening live there as I'm sat there. They come in to watch the television, and yeah, we've got visits by animals there, and lady comes in to relax. I find that stuff rather boring that they were watching, whatever it was. Well, it wasn't that boring, it was the last Jurassic Park. More interested watching lady playing with toys. And I noticed that camera was being obscured by a spider, so went out and cleared the web. And yeah, lady still enjoying herself with various toys. They were like that one. And Toadie saying, oh, Toadie gets on with lady okay now. Just takes it easy. So time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 30th of April 2024. No chance to put a photo trail today because the priority was to get this video done and dusted. And so what I'll do is I'll just flag up an important event we've got this evening, which is the annual general meeting of the Armitage and Murray Courts Residents Association. Yes, we've got a page for that up on the website. And so all I do here is a quick trip into the garden, and you might see Michelle there. Probably not dressed yet properly. There, enjoying the garden and watching pussycats. Lady was out there a moment ago. Not to worry. So this is just to do the best I can to complete the trail. So it is the end of April, and what I will flag up, because it is quite important, which is our local community, not just Armitage and Murray Courts, but lots of things. And so, for example, one of the videos is the barbecue, and people will be a bit younger then, because that was in 2001. In 2021 I found the camera barbecue from 20 years ago. Right, that's going to have to do. Yeah, so plenty more stuff. So let's cancel that. And of course we've also got the robot boat page and lots of other pages there. So that's going to have to do for the last day of April. So I think, what did I go into? I think I started somewhere like in the kitchen. I don't know. Hello Bentley, how are you doing? Okay? Yeah, June's unwrapping a suitcase for holiday. Yeah, this is the kitchen. Yeah, temporary mirrors up there, and tennis on the television as expected. You'll see Bentley appearing in quite a few of them. But anyhow, I'm going to roll into, oh there's Bentley, near the robot boat there. Hello Bentley. You want to go outside? There you go. He spends a lot of his time relaxing, as you'll see in the photo trails. So, now go into the yes, I usually point out a lot of the photo trails end with that expensive painting there, and of course I tend to use expensive cameras, you can imagine, and the old material shot from perhaps a couple of years ago starts from about here. Now what I put on the screen, because global warming is rare in itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert, shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels, to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelock said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet, because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case, and resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world, not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Robin Lovelock launched his Snoop Loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes.
That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worried for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request, but when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday, that'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my main weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive. And through into the lounge and out. So to wrap up this video, only remains to say, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have.